All right. Pack it up, pack it in, and let us begin. Coming to you live today from the beautiful Bill Austin Radio Studio, downtown Phoenix, Arizona. You are looking at the brand new graphics here, 3 for 60. Happy to have you with us. I got Sebastian Fryer to my left, Trevor Cox in his Denver Nuggets jersey behind us.
Game day.
It's game day for him. I don't know if it's game day for me today. Got a lot of baseball on my mind today. AJ Godsall's here. Past opening day, we've got plenty of takes for you today. Hot ones, that is. We're going to do top 15 quarterbacks. We're going to do our next franchise rebuild. I don't know what pick we're on anymore because I feel like it's 22.
Yeah, I was going to say 22.
So we'll get to that today as well.
That's the Chargers, I think.
Okay, sweet. I'd love to do that today. And then we're gonna, touch on a variety of other topics. I'm sure the analysts here have plenty to say around the world of sports. So with that being said, why don't we do opening takes? And by the way, let's save March Madness for next week. I mean, we've had two games, and then I just think it's too premature to react. We'll get all our reactions in on one podcast. So today, no March Madness. Anything else? Go ahead, Sebastian Fryer, lead it off, man.
All right, so far my opening take so far, obviously we had opening day yesterday. It was a great one, obviously, for me. Orioles put up 12 runs. It's one game in baseball, so it's really tough to really put a good statement out on what a team is going to look like because we know baseball is such a streaky sport. But based on what I saw yesterday, I don't think the Orioles lineup depth is really going to be a concern. Obviously, we spoke about it last week it was around probably, Monday? It might have been this week, actually. It was Monday. We spoke about the Orioles and their lineup depth and their concerns. But obviously, Adley Rutschman looks like maybe his struggles of last season might be behind him after a strong spring training and then a strong opening day. Cedric Mullins obviously came alive. I feel like the lineup 1 through 9 played very well for the Baltimore Orioles. The pitching, still a lot of question marks. Obviously, I think the bullpen in the middle part is still a concern. I'm not sure about Sir Anthony Dominguez coming in crucial situations. But overall, I'm not here to talk about you, Sir Anthony Dominguez, here on a podcast. I don't think our listeners really want to hear about that. So just my main take about the Orioles, I don't think the lineup depth is going to be a concern, but the starting rotation depth is we're still going to measure that one out as the pitchers still come up and pitch for the first time this year.
I think my opening day, I know you guys are probably sick of hearing about NBA MVP, but I got to say I'm really sick of awards being narrative-based. I want to go back to a time where it's just stat-based. I'm sick of all these narratives controlling the awards. This is not just an NBA take. I get it, and I'm not saying Shai doesn't deserve the MVP. Shai, it's clear at this point he's going to win it, so I don't even feel like there's a point to debate it anymore. Do I probably feel like Jokic should win? Yeah, but that's probably just a homer bias in me. I got to realize that. So, at the end of the day, he's having a great season, but I can't really complain.
Okay, I that's fine. I agree. I actually agree with that. We should.
I just think the whole narrative and over stats is just. I think it's really killed sports awards for me, especially down the stretch.
I just like consistency in points per game and then wins also tallying up.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not.
I understand what you're saying.
I'm saying in general.
I know what you're saying.
MVP too. We saw it with the NFL.
It's just tough to say Shai doesn't deserve to win an MVP this year, but I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
All right, I got to take on Major League Baseball. It's more, a hit piece on a certain group of fans. I want to talk about the Yankee fans and how big of babies you guys are. I actually can't take it anymore. So Juan Soto makes his big debut with the New York Mets yesterday. He goes 1 for 3 with 2 walks. And the moment the game ends, when Juan Soto has a terrible swing to end the game, I hear this whole thing about from Yankee fans like, oh, you paid $765 million just for him to strike out at the end of a game with the bases loaded. It's one game. It is opening day. You're Yankee fans, you guys are the worst. You're the worst in the planet. And trust me, there are many candidates to say that are worse fan bases than you, but you're officially the worst. Your team does not pay A-plus talent, A-plus money. The crosstown rival does. And now you have a hit piece against Juan Soto, who a year ago at this time, you were telling me he was the best hitter in the American League outside of Aaron Judge. You people are ridiculous. I'm already sick of you. We're not even in April yet in the baseball season, and I've already had enough of the complaining and the nonsense from the Yankee fans. You guys are ridiculous. This whole thing about how all this talent the New York Yankees got this offseason was going to be better. How did Paul Goldschmidt look yesterday? Really? Did he look good at you at all? Because he looked like Helen Keller at the plate yesterday. He couldn't see a pitch. How about Cody Bellinger? Yeah, he had an RBI. Did he look great in the field? No, he really didn't. Just stop with Juan Soto. Enough. Did he have his best day? No. He still got on base 3 times. It's one game. Enough. There are still 161 more of these things to go. It's ridiculous that I even have to say it. But, again, what I saw on Twitter yesterday about Juan Soto, how do you like a 1-for-3 with a strikeout to end the game? I kind of like it. I still love Juan Soto. I do. He's a $765 million player who, if he were on your team, you would say it's all good if he did that for you. Enough. Enough from you Yankee fans about this. I don't want to hear, after every single Mets game, how bad the contract looks for Juan Soto, because the truth is it really doesn't. It really doesn't. People, more eyeballs than ever, are on the New York Mets this year because of Juan Soto. You lose, Yankee fans. I win. Juan Soto still is a better player, in my opinion, than Aaron Judge. I don't care. I honestly don't. One guy hits well in the postseason, the other one doesn't. How do you like Aaron Judge in center field last year, dropping a fly ball? And how did Aaron Judge look yesterday? Did he look good to you at all? If we're gonna play the one after one game card, I'm gonna go look at Aaron Judge and say he looked like crap. It looked like the World Series last year got in his head. Look, go ahead. Go ahead. If you want to yap about Soto, go ahead. But you guys are big freaking babies, man. I've already had enough. And it's one day into the baseball season with the Yankee fans, and they have already driven me crazy. Enough. Juan Soto is a top 5 player in the game. You didn't pay him the money. You don't get to talk about him. Enough.
I mean, I don't really feel like it's a debate. Me as a baseball casual knows Juan Soto's the top 3 hitter in the game. So.
I mean, look, he was facing Josh Hader, one of the toughest lefties in the game to win the game. I mean, it's lefty-lefty matchup of that closer. The stuff that Josh Hader throws is just straight up disgusting. So the fact that people are even burning Soto for striking out to Josh Hader when a lot of the MLB and top hitters would as well makes absolutely no sense. Soto's going to be a great signing for the Mets. It's one game. It's just trolls out there, obviously. It's just trolls.
The Yankee fans are all trolls. All of them.
They are. I agree.
To you, bro.
They are. They win. I guess they win. They come out on Twitter and they're telling me how Austin Wells looks like the next Yogi Berra. Who needs Juan Soto when you have Cody Bellinger driving in at runs? I've had enough. I have had enough already. And we're opening week now. Ridiculous.
Man, opening day.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's actually opening day still.
Well, for some teams, yeah, you're right. So technically, it's opening week, but it's still opening day. Fine. You've already gotten in my head, and props to you. You've already done it. You've already beaten me. I don't know what to tell you. Any other thoughts, Major League Baseball wise, or anything else today? I mean, Red Sox had a nice win. Orioles had a nice win. So glad the Yankees are in third place right now in my eyes. I don't care if we're all 1-0, but all good. Trevor, any thoughts, man? Anything you got?
I guess my thought will be I cannot stand to watch Kyle Freeland start another opening day for the Rockies. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm still taking new applications for a new baseball team. That's still out there.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that, Trevor. Obviously, Kyle Freeland, being on your baseball team outside of his rookie year must get really tiring of him still being a Colorado Rocky. But, it's really tough to say something about baseball. The Dodgers still obviously look dominant, 3 wins in a row, counting the 2 in Japan. And now, obviously, yesterday, the 1-run win over the Tigers. They still look very good. So it's been one day. I think the Diamondbacks losing because obviously we live here in Arizona, downtown Phoenix, ASU campus. The Daybacks obviously get a lot of hype around us. So them honestly getting taken down by the Cubs probably brought a little grin to all of our faces, all that D-backs crew of, they're going to the World Series. The whole Arizona media and all the D-backs fans around here, they can take a little bit of a chill pill and not be all over our face about that baseball team. But it's opening day. It's one baseball game. I'm all excited about the Orioles today, and they might get shut out tonight. So you never know about this. It's a day-by-day basis, and that's how we're going to analyze it. We're not going to throw any overreactionary takes at you after one of 162 baseball games.
I'll throw an overreactionary take. Why isn't Corbin Burns starting game 1 for the Arizona Diamondbacks? That made no sense to me at all yesterday. I was like, what? Zach Gallen's the opening day starter?
He does have a system. He likes to pitch once every 5 days, so I guess he pitched late in spring training. That's on the D-backs. I don't know why they would schedule it like that, but Corbin Burns strictly wants to pitch once every 5 days, so I guess that day's going to fall, I believe, Monday.
I mean, that's their number 1 ace in my book. I don't think that's close.
Saying it's Merrill Kelly today. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's not going to pitch till Monday because he pitches once every 5 days, so he must have pitched really late into spring training. But in my opinion, yes. I mean, he's their best starter. He is way better than Zach Gallen. I just do not understand why Zach Gallen got the respect and why he was the opening day starter. He's just simply not on Corbin Burns' consistency level or even talent level, in my opinion.
Oh, that's easy. Overall, I think baseball fans have a problem where they just overreact on opening day, over anything else, and then they'll stay away till July, and they'll come back with their overreactionary takes. Where some people like me who are consistent complainers, you'll see on the podcast, I'll always have a complaint with somebody. By the way, Red Sox look good, but Rafael Devers looks like 40 pounds overweight. I don't know how he did it this offseason. Where the rumor was he was in Fort Myers, training every day. I don't know if they gave him a unlimited McDonald's card and just started eating, but he looks 40 pounds overweight. Maybe that's his sign of being angry
and
that he's the new DH.
He's just gonna play in the shape, dude.
He's a DH now. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. That's baseball. Let's get to our rebuild of the day. Why don't we do that? LA Chargers. LA Chargers, that's the next one up for us. I believe it's pick 22,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken. So the LA Chargers, Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh. Tough loss last year in the wild card, looking to bounce back off that. They picked up Najee Harris in the running back room. That was really their big play this offseason, I guess. Bring back Mike Williams in the receiver room. They let go of Joey Bosa. That was a big one. So that's an obvious need now. They signed Mekhi Becton. That's another good pickup for them. So we'll see. LA Chargers rebuild. Let's do it, guys.
I definitely like what they're doing. I got to say, in the trenches, especially offensively, I really like that offensive line. I think it could be a great unit next year. Zion Johnson still obviously a bit of a question mark at left guard, but if he could just be serviceable to below average, I think that's fine with the pieces you have around him. Did they bring back Mike Williams? I didn't see that. I'm just seeing that
They
on
did
their
bring
depth
him
chart.
back. Yep.
So we got Mike Williams, Quinn Johnson, Ladd McConkey. Man, that cannot be the group of weapons that you go into this season with Herbert. You just can't let that happen again. You can't let him be devoid of talent around him to throw to hand the ball off to. I get you're building the trenches, but man, I mean, they need to pay a wide receiver. And maybe they pick one at 22. I'd say if I'm the Chargers at 22, I'm looking skill position. So whatever player I like the best out of the remaining running backs, tight ends, and receivers is the one I'm going to take. I think look out for Hampton at 22. That makes sense to me. Colston Loveland on our last mock draft. That makes a lot of sense to me, especially with the Michigan Harbaugh connection there. I think they need to go skill position in the first round, or else that'd be a huge mistake. Defensively, they do have a lot of holes there still. I think the front seven needs a lot of buffing up, but overall, their secondary was pretty good last year. They got a lot of, stepped up play from players we've never really heard of. Tariq still had a phenomenal rookie year. Even Cam Hart was decent for them in limited reps. So I think I focus on skill positions offensively because we saw that was kind of what killed them down the stretch last year.
Yeah, for the Chargers, obviously, we can't really talk about free agency because all the players that are still left out there without a team either are not starting caliber players or just have huge concerns to them, which is why they're still out there, probably not getting the money they think they deserve, and NFL teams simply don't view it like that. So, they really can't address the receiver room anymore in free agency and add an impact player that truly is going to make a difference in this depth chart. I love their offensive line, especially the right side. Mekhi Becton and Joel, two humongous human beings they're going to have there just pushing bodies all year long.
It's going to be a nightmare.
You're going to watch
run defense.
Absolutely. We're going to watch Najee Harris just run behind those two guys all year long. But they do need more of a dynamic running back. I will love Trevion Henderson maybe in the second round, adding some speed to that running back room. If Hampton, if they really value him very highly and he's there at 22, that could also be a pick. But obviously, we look at the receiver room. Quentin Johnston, through year two, was he as bad as he was at his rookie year last year? No, not really. He made some, strides. He's a solid receiver. He's just not as good as Zay Flowers. He's not as good as Jordan Addison, which is what he will always be compared to since he got picked right before those two guys. So I think you still probably give him a chance to get in that depth chart. You have him, you have Ladd McConkey. I like Mike Williams, but he's just a situational receiver. He can be a little nice red zone weapon for you. Or every once in a while, you just need to chuck it down the field because no one's open, and he just wins the ball one-on-one because he can definitely still do that. But you have to focus on the run game. I still think they need to get one running back in there, like I just mentioned. They can either address that day one or day two in the draft. But I think the receiver room, I think they can still add one more dynamic weapon. You love Ladd McConkey. You love Quinn Johnston. But obviously, they could still add some more speed, in my opinion. Matthew Golden, if he's there at number 22, I will love that addition for them. There's obviously some other receivers. Ibuka, I'm not sure how much you want to add Ibuka because he's a slot guy. You also have Ladd McConkey. You probably want to play him in the slot. I'm not sure how Ladd McConkey would want to play in the outside. So you could also go with Wilder Burden if he's still there. I think he probably has a little bit more versatility than Ibuka does. I think those are probably the two positions they could address, either running back or wide receiver, in my opinion. And it has to be wide receiver. Or, could they go out and address edges? Well, they lost Joey Bosa in the offseason. Maybe they need to add some more pass rushers. They obviously brought Khalil Mack back, but obviously Khalil Mack, he's obviously up there in age. So could they bring another edge rusher in there? I think there could be some guys in there that can really interest them as well on the defensive side of the football, or tight end like AJ, obviously Mock Loveland, to go there. Enter a past mock draft. Check that out if you haven't yet. But Loveland could definitely add to that Michigan pedigree that Jim Harbaugh and that toughness that Jim Harbaugh really is trying to impose on this Chargers team, specifically on that Chargers offensive side of the football with Greg Roman. They love to run the football. So none of those picks would surprise me. I think there's a variety of options the Chargers are going to have and they could address at pick number 22. But in my opinion, the most crucial one probably would be a guy like Matthew Golden at 22. I would still like Hampton because of the dynamic speed that he could bring and the dynamic running game he could bring that simply Najee Harris doesn't bring. But Loveland would definitely make sense in my opinion. Little safety blanket for Justin Herbert. physicality, Michigan run game, just that whole Michigan pedigree that Jim Harbaugh's trying to impose into potentially championship culture here for the Chargers.
I would say wide receivers are the biggest need right now as it stands. They need another guy. I would try to address that in the draft, or an idea I like. I like the Colson Loveland idea, but I think they could trade down at the pick they're at because it just doesn't make much sense for them to take them there. We couldn't do trades obviously in our mock draft. That's why I had them going high. One thing I would love from a team like the LA Chargers, I would call and try to trade up. If I can get a guy like Tyler Warren in there and as my tight end, it's a Big Ten guy. I know Harbaugh loves physical playmaking tight ends. Tyler Warren's the best one in this draft at that. So I could definitely see the Chargers as a trade up team. They have almost all their draft picks. They haven't really made big moves in draft wise in a pretty long time. I know Harbaugh's a guy who loves the trenches. Greg Roman's a guy they love. Physical, big bashing tight ends who can help the run game out. I would love the idea of them trying to find a way up, sneaking up in the draft, especially if Tyler Warren falls a bit, sneaking up into that 10, 11-ish range right around there, maybe, making a play for a guy like Tyler Warren. I think that would be huge for Justin Herbert. You get him a big playmaker, tight end, and then, in the later rounds, you identify your running back that you like. I would Najee Harris. I don't think it's a huge need at running back as bigger as tight end or wide receiver for this team. I think they definitely should add a wide receiver in this draft, and I think there's plenty of options and candidates for that. But again, I think this team has a lot of different ways they can go. I think the offensive line is in a great spot. They steal Mekhi Becton with a really cheap contract for a lot of us who thought he was going big money, and he just didn't get it. So, and the Chargers just find a way to walk into Mekhi Becton, which is fine. I would definitely say defensively, I would definitely start looking at pass rush too. I think that's what Harbaugh is going to do with when you let Joey Bosa walk. That tells me you're going back into the draft and looking to get younger. And especially a guy like Khalil Mack now, 1 year on his deal, you'd expect this would be his last year coming up in LA. So I think the Chargers are in a great spot. I think they're definitely a true contender in the AFC if they have a really good draft here. And I think they're a real contender to make some noise in the AFC West. So we'll see.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think they've got a great skeleton. They just need to put the surrounding pieces around Herbert.
What I will say about the Chargers, they obviously have a former Raven executive, Joe Ortiz. He used to be I believe, the assistant GM of Eric DeCosta out there in Baltimore. And obviously they have one of the Harbaugh brothers. Really the motto of, the Ravens teams and maybe the other Harbaugh brother, they don't like to trade up in drafts. They like to trade down. So maybe they want Loveland, they could easily trade down. I think Tyler Warren would probably be too much of a luxury for them to try to trade up probably inside the top 14 because the Colts is probably
He's
the
there
latest.
22 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Warren's the latest. I could see him going as 14 to the Colts. I'd be shocked if the Colts don't select him. So I think the Chargers are more of a trade down candidate if they don't have the value that they would like. Because I know the Chargers, and I think they're going to try to keep on going with that motto: get the comp picks, get as many picks as possible, and get better through the draft. So I guess they love their scouting department. They didn't really play too much into the aggressiveness of free agency. So I can definitely see them grabbing the right value in the draft. I think they're going to have a great draft. I like Joe Ortiz a lot as a GM. I think he's going to really do some great things. They're going to get the pick right at 22, or if they trade down, they're going to get the pick right no matter where they're at. I think they're going to bring in some great valuable players. They're going to address the running back when they need to. They're going to address the wide receiver when they need to. And they're going to address the tight end and even some interior spots in that offensive line, edge rusher. So I'm really a big fan of the Chargers. And like AJ mentioned, they have a great draft and they hit some home run picks. This team could easily be a big-time contender in the AFC next season.
Okay, LA Chargers rebuild. We're 22 down. So with that being said, any other thoughts anywhere else, guys? Any before we get into our top 15 quarterbacks tonight?
I'm ready to dig in, AJ.
Yeah.
One thing before we dig in, I forgot to mention this. This was going to be my opening take, and I remembered Juan Soto, LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith. I feel like I don't know what has gotten into Stephen A. Smith since he got his contract renewed with ESPN. I don't know what has gotten into him, like head-wise. Like, I don't know what the decision-making is there. I don't know if they just gave him more freedom to, like, talk more. But we're getting ridiculous now. LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith, from what I can tell, they've had this sort of beef ever since, Stephen A. Smith called out LeBron James' son, Bronny James. And, LeBron confronted him about it at the Crypto.com arena. And, Stephen A. Smith tried to defend it. I can understand where Stephen A. Smith's coming from there a bit. Calling out, LeBron James' son. I mean, I think it's fine. But I think today, Stephen A. Smith, or at least yesterday, I think he crossed the line. You can, debating with a player is one thing. And I think that, it helps. Any publicity is good publicity, from what I've understood. But yet, that was too far. What Stephen A. Smith said about, how wasn't at the funeral, like,
Kobe Bryant's funeral.
calling him out for that.
Oh
I thought that was just a weak.
That's really weird.
I thought it was
That's,
a weak
that's
chirp.
really weird.
I thought that was
That's just weird.
like if you want to call out play, that's fine.
Yeah.
Journalists, sports journalists,
Well,
you call out the play.
Can't, though. It's LeBron James.
Of his son.
Yeah.
Of his son. That's what I'm saying. But we're gonna, take personal shots at guys because
It's ridiculous.
of funerals. Even though LeBron James was actually there, he just didn't want to be in the front row because he was probably sad because he liked Kobe Bryant a lot.
Yeah,
I think that's ridiculous. I think that's a low shot.
That's a really, really dangerous narrative, I'd say, as well. I think we're already seeing narratives from, I'd say, mostly little kids online about how LeBron's this bad person. I think that's just worse for the narrative.
And look, we talk about sports, obviously, and, I think First Take is supposed to be a sports show, obviously, unless something incredible happens around the world that really, truly needs to be addressed. But this is simply one of the situations that he takes a personal jab at a player. Yeah. And, he's paid to debate about sports and, about what LeBron does on the court, what Bronny does on the court. Like AJ mentioned, if he wants to criticize Bronny about what he's doing on the court, fine. And, Bronny should be able to take that. And LeBron, should just let that happen. It's the media. It happens. Everybody's going to talk. Everybody's talked about Bronny all over social media ever since he joined the league and got drafted by the Lakers. But to take a personal jab at someone is just ridiculous. It just should never happen in the world of sports because they get paid. We hopefully will get paid to debate sports one day, but those guys already get paid. Yeah. It should be a big-time platform to truly criticize the players about what they do on the court, not what happens off the court, especially with something like that that's simply not true, first of all. And it should just never really be talked about. It's just ridiculous. I think Stephen A. Smith should be held accountable and he should at least be off air of ESPN for a little bit of time.
Yeah,
I think
he should be embarrassed.
I think it should be ridiculous. A suspension. I think that is a rightful suspension.
I didn't even hear about that. That's just classless. Even with the Denver jersey on my chest, my thoughts on Kobe Bryant might not be the same as everyone else's. That's ridiculous. We're talking about a guy who passed away with his daughter, and you're talking about how he's attending the funeral. That's just dumb. That's weird.
It's personal.
That's personal and that's childish. So I gotta say that's a really bad look for ESPN.
For a sports show, for a sports talk show, it should be about sports talk. I think
you can criticize players, but I think something in our modern media landscape, I'd say we don't uplift players quite enough. I'd say mainstream media, especially I say ESPN. I feel like they're always criticizing something. I don't really feel like they're ever like, wow, look at what this guy did, man.
Only good show on ESPN right now is the Pat McAfee show. That's the only little maybe bright light that I might tune in. Pat McAfee's interviewing someone cool or saying something cool or having an actually good interesting segment. Good guess, especially with that. But simply First Take, though. If they want to talk about sports, they normally get it wrong and talk about the wrong type of sports and the wrong headlines. And when they want to debate players, especially LeBron James, it just seems to get personal every time because people at ESPN don't seem to like LeBron James very much as a person. And it's just when bias gets in there and, personal relationships between the media and the player get involved, pretty much all the debates and all the takes really go out the window because we know it's really not sincere.
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to touch on too regarding ESPN. Peter Schrager is apparently heading to ESPN. He's leaving NFL Network and he's leaving Fox Sports. That kind of signifies to me that NFL Network, I think it's almost a done deal. Schrager must have some inside intel there. He's going from NFL Network to ESPN. I think that's the first of what we're going to see is the NFL Network personalities, at least some of them, heading over to a new network in ESPN. I think it's a great move for them. I think Schrager's actually a really good analyst. He brings a lot to the table. Some of his takes have been a little off, but I think that happens with everybody. I think it's a good pickup. Yeah, I think it's a good pickup for him. I think he's a good insider. Usually gives great facts. He was one of the members of the NFL Network and their media that really did a great job, I thought. I think this is an outstanding move for ESPN, who, again, it appears they're getting the NFL package. You want to add credibility to your NFL broadcast, I think Peter Schrager is a good start.
I'm not the biggest Peter Schrager guy because of some of the takes, especially against my team he's had in the past, but, it's a good addition. He's not the guy I most hate in the media, obviously, or dislike. I shouldn't say hate, but dislike in the media. But, it's a good hire. It makes sense, especially if he has intel of NFL Network potentially making the ESPN move. It definitely makes a lot of sense why he's there. And, yeah, it could be a little bit of a hint of what's to come.
Yeah, with a lot of stuff we talked about on Monday's show, I'd say it makes sense to me.
Okay, sweet. All right. Now, we are going to get a little, edgy here on this show. It's like we're, the war zone in the edit base here. It is officially time for the top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, again, everyone would have different criteria for this. We have our own set of criteria for this list. So, again, Sebastian, you were thinking about the criteria. Just state it one more time here for the mass audience so they are clear as to why some of our decisions were made.
So right now what we're kind of thinking is every quarterback, we're going to throw age out the window. So basically, let's say every single quarterback is 25 years old and we're just trying to win some games next year with our NFL franchise. We're thinking about player potential going into next season. We're thinking about maybe what they did in the past, what they did basically this past season. So I think every single part of what comes to being a quarterback is going to be measured, especially talent. We think a lot of players simply are good based on the team that's around them. I think that's also going to be evaluated in this list. So I think a lot of different variables that we're going to assess right here, but age is definitely not one of the things we're going to assess. Everybody's basically the same age. We're going to just address the player based on their talent level and what they can really provide for a team in the next upcoming NFL season.
All right, sweet. All right, who wants to get this thing started?
I mean, I feel like I'll get us started here. I'll go 1 through 4 first, just because I feel like this is probably consensus. Maybe we have in a bit of a different order. My number 1 is still Patrick Mahomes. The Super Bowls, the rings, MVPs, the clutchness. It's just all puts him up at number 1. Lamar Jackson moving up to number 2 for me. I do feel like he's a better quarterback at this point than Josh Allen. Yeah, I like Josh Allen. He has a rocket arm. He's fun to watch run and everything, but I truly do just trust Lamar as a passer more these days, and he's obviously a better runner. Josh Allen, great runner, not close to Lamar. Number 3, though, on that note, is Josh Allen. Phenomenal quarterback, so fun to watch. I mean, we've said it all about him probably on this podcast before. The guy's a freak of nature. Number 4, Joe Burrow. This is a guy who I think would have had an MVP case if he played on a better team last year. One of the most accurate throwers I've seen probably of our generation, and just a very, very gifted athlete for sure.
Yeah, obviously, number 1 is Patrick Mahomes. I feel like that's going to be pretty, agreed upon here in the panel. But Patrick Mahomes, I mean, we've seen it all with him. I mean, he's got all the tools you would want from a franchise quarterback. He's mobile enough. He's very sneaky athletic, if we can say that, with his legs. He does it all. I mean, he goes out and wins games. He's been in the AFC Championship every single year of his career. He hosts most of those games. He wins the division every year. I mean, what is there not to like about Patrick Mahomes,
Literally.
So I'm going to move on from him. That's pretty much agreed upon here in the panel. The list kind of starts at number 2. I feel like that's when the open debate can really start by most people. And I do have Lamar Jackson as well based on what he did last year. I feel like if we talked about this list this time last year, I wouldn't have Lamar Jackson number 2. But just simply the stride he had as a passer this last
100%.
season, somehow that guy just keeps getting better and better every single time we watch him play in a brand new NFL season. And what he did as a passer, he was legit a top 5 passer in the NFL last year. His arm is unbelievable. He's got a rocket. His down the field accuracy, I think that's the biggest stride in my opinion.
Man.
Tight windows, but that down the field accuracy, I think those throws, some of the throws to Rashad Bateman really caught my eye as well. Normally the accuracy down the field was not there for Lamar. Took it up a notch, and obviously we know about him as a mobile quarterback. I mean, he's arguably the best to ever do it as a mobile quarterback. So Lamar Jackson, based on his passing skills, is why he jumped up to number 2 on my list. Do have Josh Allen, the reigning MVP, at number 3. I love what he can do. I think he's once again another guy that can do it all, and he's got all the tools you really want from a franchise quarterback. He's got the height. He obviously has the arm strength. I think the decision-making improved a lot, and that's why I'm a big fan of Josh Allen this year. I think that's why he ended up winning MVP, because he took care of the football a lot more this year, and he was a lot smarter. I think that's why the Bills overall were able to be so successful this year, because I think the roster got weaker, but Josh Allen did get better as a football player. And I love all the tools, once again, like I just mentioned about him. He's very mobile. He's very big. He's hopefully a guy that can stay healthy throughout his whole career, maybe a healthier way Cam Newton, we could say, with Josh Allen. In my opinion, he's a much better passer than Cam Newton ever was as well.
Yeah,
so
100%.
love me some Josh Allen. Number 4, I do have Joe Burrow as well. Joe Burrow could have easily had an MVP candidate if his team made the playoffs last year.
Mm-hmm.
He was awesome. He legit was awesome. I know he has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, which is why you probably have him in number 4 instead of guys like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Those guys simply have not played with the talent that Joe Burrow has played with. Probably a little bit of better offensive line, sure, for Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
But Joe Burrow does have a guy who just came off winning the Triple Crown. He probably has the best number 2 receiver in all of football, T. Higgins. But regardless of that, Joe Burrow does magic with them. He's the only guy that really has gone head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs out of the AFC and beaten him. So I think that's a huge plus with Joe Burrow as well. He's so clutch. He's calm, cool, and composed when it matters. Crunch time, love me some Joe Burrow. And
I know it's corny to say, but the guy's a winner. I know it's corny to say, but
he's an absolute winner, and I think he doesn't probably have the mobility these other guys have, 1 through 3. But,
exactly.
I mean, as a pocket passer, he might be as good as he gets right now in the NFL. Legit. So that's why I have Joe Burrow number 4.
Okay. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. You're not going to catch a debate from me. He's by far the best QB in the league, in my opinion. Again, I agree with the fact that the list really starts at 2. I put Lamar Jackson there for now. His passing this year, really the evolution of his passing in his career has just been insane. If you go back, 3-4 years ago, there were major questions about Jackson and the passing, but he has answered all questions, in my opinion. He was the MVP last year. I thought that was just utterly ridiculous how they actually somehow gave it to Josh Allen.
After giving him first team offense.
Yeah.
really ridiculous in my eyes. That should have been 2 straight MVPs. Obvious voter fatigue there, in my opinion. Again, if Mark Andrews catches a football, he beats Josh Allen last year. I know everyone's going to say Josh Allen's 2-0 now against them. Let's really go back and dive into those losses. Josh Allen beat him the first time because Jackson got hurt. That was the first time. And the second time was because Mark Andrews couldn't catch a football. And if Mark Andrews does catch that football, Lamar Jackson would probably win that game.
Or does a football with 8 minutes left in the game, too.
Yeah, the interception was bad there in that game, but it's all good. I would still take Jackson over Josh Allen any day of the week. And I think if you ask 32 GMs, I bet you at least 30 of them would say probably would take Lamar Jackson. So you're not going to catch a debate there for me. 3 for me is interesting. I defer from you guys. I take Joe Burrow at 3. I think it's very close, but I would definitely go with Joe Burrow. I like his winning intangibles. Yes, I am a fan of winners. I am. I'm also a fan of great players. When the only guys who have beaten Patrick Mahomes are the greatest NFL player of all time and Tom Brady and Joe Burrow, that gives me a lot more respect. Yes, Joe Burrow, did he have last year in big game scenarios, did he not get jobs done several times? Yes, that's a flaw. But Joe Burrow, I think if they give him a little bit of a better defense, he goes into the playoffs. And,
offensive line.
If you give him a better offensive line, yes, everyone's going to sit here and act like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase carry him, which is not the truth. It's not. Joe Burrow is just a winner. Wherever he goes, he wins. I mean, at LSU, you want to go to the Cincinnati Bengals. Out of the 4 in the top 4 of our quarterbacks here, he has the worst franchise by far. And he has turned that franchise around into a true contender and probably the best watch in the league in terms of like offense and like a fun team. I put Burrow at 3. I think he's just done so much for that franchise, turned the whole notion around the Bungles into the Cincinnati Bengals. He's made that team a staple, and I give him a lot of credit because that organization for years has had malpractice after malpractice. It's just been one, shit show after another, and Burrow has given them credibility. Even after his rookie year where he blew out his knee, he has come back, and he has just been unbelievable for the Bengals. 4 for me is Josh Allen. Here's why. Okay, what does Mahomes have? He has MVPs and rings. He's our number 1. What does Lamar Jackson have? He has MVPs, right? Joe Burrow, what does he have? He has, postseason success. It's there. He's beaten Josh Allen, too, head-to-head. What does Josh Allen have? He really has none of those things.
4 losses to the Chiefs in the last 4 years.
A fraudulent MVP, in my opinion.
Fraudulent MVP, losses to Burrow. Well, lost to Burrow, actually, 1, rather. Losses to Mahomes. Mahomes actually owns the guy. And, I'm not going to sit here and criticize Josh Allen. I think he's fantastic. Would I take him on my team? Yeah, sure. Okay. But at some point, we have to sit there and realize he hasn't gotten the job done. He just hasn't. And when it comes down to it, that Bills team should have beat the Chiefs team. They really should have. They should have won that AFC title game. I'm sorry. The fact that Josh Allen couldn't pick up 1 yard when he's built like a tank, that's a him problem. And it's adding up. Was that Bills team not the best? I mean, sure. I think James Cook was a top 10 running back last year. I think he had the pieces there. He should have gotten the job done, 100%. And I think Lamar Jackson would have won that AFC title game. If you go back and you put the Ravens there instead of the Bills, I think the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl and playing Philadelphia. I am that confident in that. Josh Allen for me is 4. He has a lot to prove. I know Bills fans want to sit here and act like everything's okay for some reason. It's not. He has so much to prove. He is number 4 for me.
I will say, though, for people listening, before you want to come out and bash us, 2 through 4 can be interchangeable. So just because we have Josh Allen at 4 doesn't mean we think he sucks. He's the 4th best quarterback we would take. I mean, he's an awesome quarterback. So don't come out here and bash us because we have him at 4. We can understand if you want to have him at 2. Okay, I will understand that. But we have him at 4. We have our reasons why. So don't come out here and bash us acting like we think Josh Allen sucks and doesn't belong in the same conversations as Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow because he does.
Well, for the record,
we're talking to you, Bills Mafia.
Exactly.
For the record, you guys do have him at 3. I am the only one who has him at 4.
Great fan base, man, but they go all out for their players. A little too much.
Come on, man. Let's go. I'm ready for it. I love the Heat. Love the Heat. Blow up my phone.
One of the most passionate fan bases in the league. So
probably the most passionate.
I'd say so, honestly. Yeah. I'll get us started here 5 to 7. I feel like we might have the same players in this tier. I'm not sure. I'll get us started. Number 5, I have Jaden Daniels. Probably the best rookie year in football history. He was just unbelievable, man. He can do it with his legs. He was throwing it deep. He was throwing it over the middle of the field. He's throwing screens. The guy was figuring out ways to get it done down the stretch took down the Lions. Yeah, they were very injured, but taking your team to the NFC Championship game after being the number 2 pick in your rookie year is just an incredible feat in itself. So Daniels is my number 5, a truly special player. I don't think it's too early to say anything about this guy. Number 6, I'll put Stafford. this is a guy that we talked about, was one play away from the NFC title game again and actually hosting it. So I think this is still a player who has a lot of juice left in the tank. I think the Rams could still be sneaky dark horse contenders with him at the helm. I really think he's that good of a quarterback, even in his old age. Number 7, I'll go Herbert. I love the guy. I love the tools. I love the player. I just need to see the playoff success. That's the one missing factor for me with Herbert, and the reason why he's below Daniels and Stafford for me still.
All right, guys, let's get it started because I think this is when we're gonna have our first true debate here. A little bit of a different thinking. At 5, I still have Jaden Daniels. I think what he did last year was absolutely phenomenal, leading that Commanders team. I mean, kind of how you talked about Joe Burrow turning the Bungles into the Bengals. I mean, Jaden Daniels turned the Commanders into a completely irrelevant football team, basically. I mean, into a completely irrelevant franchise, into relevancy, and I think that's just not talked about enough. I mean, Jaden Daniels was the main reason. I mean, I know Dan Quinn came in there, but Jaden Daniels was the main reason. Let's not get that twisted. Why the Commanders went into the playoffs last year, went to the NFC title game. He played phenomenal in Tampa, phenomenal in Detroit, and you can't do anything when your defense gives up 55 points and De'Ami Brown's fumbling balls left and right. So, Jaden Daniels, all credit to him. What a rookie year. Now, Commanders fans who want to start comparing him up to the quarterback we just named, and Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes, separate tier so far. Jaden Daniels still has a lot more left to prove for us to really get Jaden Daniels pushed up to that tier. So Jaden Daniels at 5, I'll probably leave him alone in that tier by himself. I think he was phenomenal. This should be just a Jaden Daniels tier because that's how good he was last year. 6, we started to get controversial. I do have Jalen Hurts. I think he was phenomenal. The guy's a winner. We do talk about winners. You talked about that with Joe Burrow. I'm talking about that with Jalen Hurts.
I just don't know how you can put him over Stafford.
I think just because of what he's doing right now, because we're talking about, yes, we threw age out the window, but, we're talking about playing style right now. I think Jalen Hurts, what he does for a football team, his big body and his physicality, and the guy comes through when it matters. He really does. I know he has such a good team with the Philadelphia Eagles, but just what the guy does in the trenches, I think he probably is the best quarterback you want to have in the trenches. And basically those 3rd and short situations, 4th and short, that's an automatic first down when you have Jalen Hurts as your quarterback. And I really do believe if you do surround him with the things that are necessary, because, every team does have to do that. The Chiefs do that for Mahomes. The Bengals do that with, Joe Burrow. We're not going to knock Joe Burrow down for having Jamar Chase. I don't think we should knock down, Jalen Hurts for having A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I think he does a phenomenal job working with them. And the guy simply wins. That's why I have him at 6, and I respect him. And I do believe he's won everywhere he's gone. And if I place him on an NFL team and I want to actually win football games tomorrow, I'm going to give Jalen Hurts that respect because I think he's a good leader as well. And if I want to run that physical brand of football, Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback to have as well. He plays most of the games when the team needs him as well. And I do believe there's something there as a passer. There's some tools there. I don't mind him whatsoever as a passer. And I really do believe I can really build my offense around a guy like Jalen Hurts, which is why I have him listed right now at number 6. At number 7, I do have Matthew Stafford. I still love Stafford. I think he can still sling it all over the field. What concerns me a little bit about him is his body wears down a little bit. And yes, we're not talking about age, but yes, despite that, we're talking about these quarterbacks as if they were playing next season. And Stafford, I'm not sure how worn down he is. And, there's a reason why the Rams wanted to move on from him at times this offseason, and we're a little bit hesitant to pay him that money. Love me some Stafford, though. I do agree with you, Trevor. I think they're a dark horse Super Bowl contender with Stafford there. He's awesome with Puka Nacua. He's going to be awesome with Devontae Adams over there. He can still sling that ball all over the field. He's a Super Bowl champion. The Rams, every time they're healthy, they're in the playoffs, despite having a very young roster and inexperienced defense. We saw that game against Josh Allen this year. Stafford went head-to-head with him. Yeah. Complete shootout. Stafford still got it. So anyone who wants to say Stafford doesn't have it and, he's going downhill, that's completely a lie. Stafford still got it. He can still sling it all over the field, which is why I have him at 7.
I'll get to Jalen Hurts later. I got a lot to say on him. I know I go 5, Jaden Daniels, easy. I mean, you guys mentioned all the intangibles. He's clutch. This guy is clutch. He was doing things as a rookie we've never seen before. He was incredible. A lot of those games came down to one possession games, and Jaden Daniels went out and had game-winning drives at least 4 times that I can remember. So
yeah. Seriously, the guy's
that's just insane. As a rookie quarterback, with going to the worst franchise in football. Yeah, they've been the worst franchise in football with Dan Snyder
in this century.
Yes,
this century.
Oh yeah, after the Redskins won Super Bowls and Dan Snyder got his little fingerprints on the team. Yeah, they have been an absolute train wreck.
Little fingerprints.
Disaster. Anything you want to say? Incompetence. That was the Washington Redskins. Then turned to the Washington Football Team, and then turned to the Washington Commanders for about a year. Then Jaden Daniels comes in and puts real cachet in the Commanders. Now guys actually want to play for Washington, like Deebo Samuel. He says we're going to a Super Bowl. That's how confident we are in Jaden Daniels. That guy is – I wish I had him. I wish the Patriots didn't stumble on themselves on a Christmas Day game, and we could Christmas Eve actually in Denver,
Me too.
and we could have gotten Jaden Daniels because it would have just been so much fun. Would have loved it. But Daniels is my 5. I don't think there's much debate there. Matthew Stafford is my 6. I love his game. Just the throws, the angles, just insane. Still does things that you just can't believe. One play away from beating the Philadelphia Eagles, really, in that game, with a broken down Cooper Kupp in the snow, like just terrible conditions for a team that plays indoors, and they were one play away. That's how much credit Matthew Stafford gets in my eyes against really one of the best rosters I have ever seen. So Matthew Stafford for me is my 6th best quarterback. And just a little side note, Stafford gets better this offseason because they lose Cooper Kupp, and they give him an upgrade with Devontae Adams. I am ready for that. If they draft a receiver, good God. Good God, that team is going to be special. I am that confident in the LA Rams, especially with Sean McVay. That is just going to be a nightmare. And they should get another back for Kyren Williams, too. We'll mention that later in our Rams rebuild. 7 for me, Justin Herbert. I am still a Justin Herbert believer. I love the guy. I love his makeup, love his moxie. This guy I think he's the real deal. Again, last year, I was an idiot. Somehow I took the Chargers over the Texans in that wild card game. I should have just looked at the roster and said, oh, Justin Herbert has Will Dissly at tight end, and his number 1 receiver is Ladd McConkey. I am a Ladd McConkey guy, but as a rookie, that is too much of a burden to place to be a number 1 wide receiver. That was just ridiculous. And Justin Herbert, I mean, yeah, he did play like crap in that game, but I am still a Justin Herbert believer. If you give him a real tight end, you give him another real wide receiver, then you have the offensive line where it is, and maybe another running back, this guy there, they could win the AFC West. And
Give him the AFC.
Yeah,
I think if you give him all those pieces,
he could be a number 1 seed in the AFC. Yeah, if things go right and he doesn't get hurt. So that's my 5, 6, and 7. We'll get to Jalen Hurts a little later. I got a whole huge commentary on him.
I mean, Sebastian, I'll get us started here, 8 through 10. My number 8 is Jalen Hurts. This is a guy that I had a lot of question marks early into the year with his passing. I would say he mostly silenced those through the playoffs. I still do have a couple question marks about his over the field. You know, his really ability to hit that intermediate over the middle ball. I still haven't really seen it consistently enough from him yet. That's what's keeping him out of that tier of Herbert, Daniels, and Stafford. I just don't feel like he can read the field quite as well as those guys. Yeah, he's a great scrambler as well. So I think he brings another dimension over the guys below him. That's why I have him at 8. He's a winner. Sebastian said it all about him. So I'm not going to beat you up and have him at 6. I have him only 2 spots lower. Number 9, I have Baker Mayfield. This guy, in my opinion, is a top 5, maybe even top 3 pocket passer in the league at this point. Watching him throw the ball over the middle of the field to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans in these tight windows, even Kate Otten, man, it's just absolute cinema. He's so fun to watch, and the Browns probably just beat themselves up every Sunday that they watch Baker Mayfield play, man. Number 10, I got Dak Prescott. This guy I still believe in. Injury riddled last year. A lot of dysfunction going on in the Cowboys organization. But this is a guy that finished second in MVP voting just 2 years ago, man. So I think we can't forget about that. Can't be too quick to forget about how much success he had.
All right, I'll get us started at number 8. C.J. Stroud's going to come in for me right there. Texans franchise quarterback. Not a great year last year. Most of the time for him, I think it was really rough, but I don't think it's his fault whatsoever. I think the Texas offensive line really hindered his development into having a successful second year, and the fact that he was still able to go and win a playoff game with that offensive line speaks a lot of volumes, in my opinion. That's when C.J. Stroud really won me over. I think if the Chargers go in there and beat him, I probably wouldn't have C.J. Stroud as high, but the fact that they had a down year and C.J. Stroud was still able to pretty much carry them into the divisional round, I think speaks a lot about C.J. Stroud and his character. Phenomenal rookie year. We already talked about it. And the Texans, another team that really stunk before C.J. Stroud got there. He comes in, turns that franchise around. He pretty much develops Nico Collins into the receiver he is nowadays. I think Nico Collins thinks C.J. Stroud probably a lot about his development and the player he's become as well. And we basically have Nico Collins to throw the ball to as well because Tank Dell goes down, Stephon Diggs goes down. Yep. You know, the running game, I don't think it's anything to write home about, especially Joe Mixon down the stretch. He was probably averaging around 2 yards a carry down the stretch because they just couldn't run the football. So I love C.J. Stroud. I really do think he's been able to put that Texans team on his back, which is why I respect him a lot. And that's why I have him listed here at number 8. At number 9, I do have Justin Herbert. Really has everything except the postseason intangibles, you know. Nothing has been done in the postseason except 2 pretty embarrassing performances. Blowing a 27-0 lead to the Jaguars, and then going on the road and getting embarrassed by a Texans team that couldn't protect Stroud to save their life. I think that was very concerning. Herbert threw 4 interceptions that game here against the Texans this past January. That's why I think Herbert dropped a lot for me. I think he just needs to clutch up, and my questions about him is as a leader. I think because as a quarterback, he brings everything on the field, but can he really lead a franchise? to that promised land, which is postseason success and potentially into a Super Bowl. I still have my questions about him being a vocal leader and really leading my franchise forward. I don't think he's been quite there for the Chargers, and which is why I think the Chargers have lost a lot of more football games that they would have liked when Justin Herbert's been on the field. But, besides that, the arm strength is unbelievable. He can make any throw on the field. If you want to talk about a guy that's sneaky athletic, it's Justin Herbert. I think he showed some wheels that we didn't know he had this year. And I think he's a very tough guy. He plays through a lot of injuries. He plays through a lot, takes a lot of hits. I think he's going to develop into something great. I do have no doubt that Justin Herbert down the road is going to win some playoff games. I don't have a question about that. I would just like to see him lead the team forward a little bit more, which is why I have him below some of these guys. And at number 10, I'm going to wrap it up with Dak Prescott. I mean, this guy got hurt last year, but he was second in MVP voting and arguably could have won the MVP back in 2023-2024 NFL season. He was phenomenal that year. I mean, let's be real. The core around him, no running game with Tony Pollard whatsoever. It was just him and CeeDee Lamb just saying, screw it. It's just us two in this offense.
He's down there somewhere.
He's down there somewhere. Let me go sling this ball just to CeeDee Lamb, basically. It was just him and CeeDee Lamb doing. Jake Ferguson, underrated, but Brandon Cooks was wide receiver too. I mean, come on now. It's just him and CeeDee Lamb basically out there. Good defense around him, but I don't think the situation with the Cowboys has always been perfect for Dak Prescott. And despite that, he's been able to get the job done, especially down the stretch here lately.
Coming in as a fourth rounder.
Exactly, and really no running game ever since Zeke really started to slow down, which is very early in his career. He's been pretty much putting that Cowboys offense on his back. They've been always one of the higher scoring offenses in the league. He's always been slinging for passing yards, always been kind of in that top tier in passing yards year after year when he's still healthy and on the field. Is he a little bit, tad bit overpaid? I will agree with that. I don't think he's, quite in that top 5 tier. And, is Dak's ego pretty much a little bit higher, in my opinion? And would I like to see more postseason success? Absolutely. Yeah. But I think if Dak's postseason success comes along and the Cowboys start winning some, games and getting deeper into January, maybe he can go up these rankings, which is why I have him borderline into the top 10. But I think that lack of postseason success, not all on Dak, which is why I go a little bit easy on him. His defense gave up a lot of points to the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. But Dak Prescott does need to play kind of similar to Justin Herbert. He needs to play better in January. But in the regular season, I think Dak Prescott's proved right about everything I need to see about him.
Okay, 8 through 10 for me. 8, C.J. Stroud. I love C.J., man. He is awesome. And this will be a big year for him, right? This is year 3 coming up. If you watch the Texans offseason, they're rebuilding that offensive line. If he does something crazy this year with his Texans team, especially with guys like Tank Dell, done for the year, he loses Stephon Diggs. If they make the playoffs and he wins playoff games again, that would just be unbelievable for CJ. I felt bad for him last year as well, losing Diggs and, Tank Dell, knees made out of, paper.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a bit of a window year for them, it felt like.
Yeah, and he makes again, a lot of people say Nico Collins is awesome, which I agree with. I think a lot of that is because of C.J. Stroud. In his rookie year, Nico Collins, what really was Nico Collins? Was
solid receiver, but not a star.
Not like top 10, like people are talking about him now. And I think that's a lot because of C.J. He's that good. I think he has a great read for defenses. What they have now is a chief problem, I would say. I think they just have to get the roster up, and I think C.J. Stroud will be just fine. I love C.J. I'm a fan of him. I'm excited for this Texans team in the future, and especially with a weak division like the AFC South is, I think C.J. Stroud's just going to start running the table in that division, and then the Texans are just going to find ways to win. He already has, and I think it's just going to continue with the incompetence level in that division being as high as it is for the Texans. All right, 9 for me, Dak Prescott. I love Dak. I'm a Dak believer, man. I mean, if you put any other quarterback on that team last year, the same thing would probably happen. The defense was atrocious for most of the year. The offense really had nothing there outside of CeeDee Lamb. And when Lamb got hurt, it was just a foregone conclusion. Offensive line pretty weak last year. Tight end room, ugh. Running backs, ugh. Wide receivers outside of Lamb, ugh. It was just a whole bunch of ugh. And the Cowboys' defense, Parsons got hurt. That defense was terrible. They were terrible.
Couldn't stop the run.
Flat out garbage. And the fact that now Dak is going to have to work with Brian Schottenheimer as his head coach is just ridiculous. If he has another good stats year, I'm a fan of Dak Prescott. And if they go out and get him a number 2, they go out and make plays defensively. Just because of Dak Prescott, this team is going to be a contender. It's too bad the NFC East is just so good. And I think that's the only thing that's going to get him. I think especially if the Giants get a little better, I think it's just too much for Dak to overcome just because his team is just so incompetent, all the time. They just do everything wrong. It's just so annoying. Why haven't they paid Micah Parsons? Someone tell me. I don't get it. Number 10 for me. 10 is Baker Mayfield. I love Baker Mayfield. He is just a solid quarterback. The Browns screwed that one up big time. He had all the intangibles. He is a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson. They messed that one up completely. They brought in the wrong guys for him at the wrong time in Cleveland. He needed years to develop by himself. And once he did, he became a really good quarterback for them. And they let him go at the wrong time. And Tampa Bay just backed themselves into that first year. He was solid as it comes. Going off Brady to Baker Mayfield, he's been awesome. Yes, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are fantastic, but I think a lot of it is because of Baker Mayfield. He's been very good. If he just cuts the turnovers a bit, you can talk to me that he could be in the 8-ish range next year, maybe. But for now, I think 10's a fair spot for him. I love the player. I think Bucky Irving's a great pickup for them. As we mentioned, the Buccaneers do a great job drafting. I think that helps. But I think Baker Mayfield is a very good quarterback. He was the number one pick for a reason. I think Baker Mayfield still has a lot to get to in his career and a lot of chips on his shoulder. And I think he's in a great spot to do it. Tampa, a little bit of a low-key pressure situation. NFC South, a lot of incompetence still there, especially with teams like the Saints and Mickey Loomis running around. I think I love Baker Mayfield. He should have another good season this year. There's no reason for him not to, especially with Jalen McMillan becoming a star, Kate Otten being very good at tight end, and Bucky Irving, who is borderline top 10. He's top 15 for me, but he can sneak in the top 10 combo next year. That's my top 10 at the quarterback position.
All right, well, I'll get us started here just outside of the top 10. I call this tier the top 10 caliber quarterbacks, so I still believe these guys are top 10 caliber. Really one good season from just going up there for me. 11, CJ Stroud. I feel like you guys said everything there is to say about this guy. The reason I have him a little lower is just because I feel like the guys ahead of him are a little more proven, and he did have the sophomore slump next year. Once he bounces back from that, which I believe he will, I'll be able to put him higher again, but he's still in that top 10 caliber range for me. Number 12, Jordan Love. I mean, we saw this guy, what he did to the Cowboys in Dallas just 2 years ago. I understand the playoff performance wasn't great this year, but I really still believe in him. Like what you said, AJ, one of the best rosters I've ever seen him going up against. So I still believe in the Packers. I still believe in Jordan Love as long as they can get him a true number one here soon.
All right, so we're doing 11 and 12 right now?
Yeah.
All right, so 11 for me is Baker Mayfield. You guys mentioned it all about him. I mean, he literally could sneak into the top 10. You guys have a very valid argument for that. I'm a big believer in Baker Mayfield. I mean, he's gone into Tampa 2 seasons, 2 division championships.
Yeah.
He didn't win a playoff game last year because his defense couldn't give him the ball back. If they gave him the ball back, he was going to score a touchdown. I'm pretty convinced about that. Impressive, really opening playoff he had 2 years ago where he smoked the Eagles and he gave Detroit all they could handle that year, where Detroit was healthy that year defensively. Love me some Baker Mayfield. He's just a straight up gunslinger. That dude is so tough as well. If he needs to pick it up with his legs, if he needs to die for a first down, he will. He brings the energy. He's a great leader, in my opinion. Guys going into the league, we're comparing Baker Mayfield to Johnny Manziel. That couldn't have been any more wrong whatsoever. This dude is just straight up baller. But I mean, he's a dog. He literally is the definition of a dog, in my opinion. If he goes in there and I just start my franchise with Baker Mayfield, I couldn't really be more excited as well either. I mean, that's a guy that's just going to lead everyone else. He's going to rally the troops. He's going to energize the team. I just don't think Baker Mayfield's the guy that's going to go lose the locker room. I think he's a very professional guy as well. He's all about business. He's all about winning. And he's going to throw the ball. He's going to sling it. Mike Evans, in my opinion, has had his one, outside of maybe Brady, he's had a couple good years with Brady, but he's looked awesome as well with Baker Mayfield as well. Chris Godwin last year looked revived as well with Baker Mayfield. So I think if they surround Baker Mayfield with a lot of talent, Baker Mayfield's going to keep slinging that ball, and they're going to keep winning divisions there in that NFC South. And number 12 for me right now, I have Jordan Love. And the thing with Jordan Love last year is, was he good? Not really, in my opinion. I think that was a year that expected the Packers to take a big jump. I predicted the Packers to go to the Super Bowl last year. I thought that was the year that really Jordan Love was going to be untapped. Everything was going to work out. But really, I think the thing that biggest held him and really the Packers back was the lack of true top-tier receivers in that room. But I think Jordan Love also himself, I don't think he was quite healthy all year long. He started off the year in Brazil, hurt his knee, then he came back. He turned the ball over a ton, which cost the Packers a lot. But I think down the stretch, Jordan Love started playing some confident football. But then Christian Watson goes down with a gruesome torn ACL. Romeo Dobbs is inconsistent all year long. Jaden Reed got off to a smoking, scorching hot start. Really disappeared down the stretch. It just wasn't there. Tucker Kraft saw a tight end, but she's not a top-tier guy either. If the Packers can surround Jordan Love with a really good wide receiver, which hopefully they have a chance to draft here coming up in April, I don't know if it will be there because the Packers pick late in the 20s. So I'm really concerned about the Packers based on that aspect because I just don't think they've really failed to address that top-tier receiver need, especially Christian Watson. I don't think he'll be ready to play early on next year. But Jordan Love as himself, I love the tools, which is why I have him at 12. A lot of people might have him lower because of that, because of, the rough year he had last year, but the tools are there. I mean, this is a guy who just stands in the pocket, nice and tall, can deliver a beautiful ball down the field. And when that Packers offense is orchestrating, I think it's one of the most beautiful offenses to watch. Matt LaFleur does a great job scheming things for them year in, year out. They compete with the Lions as well. I think, especially looking at Thanksgiving they had 2 years ago, that was a beauty. That's kind of the Jordan Love breakout game, in my opinion, where this career really started getting on track. when he's rolling and when he's confident, when he trusts Matt LaFleur, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, hands down, in my opinion. So that's why I have not Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love here listed at number 12 because of the tools of what he can bring me in the future, and I still trust Jordan Love can deliver those top 10 quarterback seasons going into the future.
Okay. I like Jordan Love a lot. 11 and 12 for me are very interesting, okay? I am a guy who believes in ceiling. I love the factors of ceiling. 11 is Caleb Williams. 12 is Drake May. Here's why. Caleb Williams now, last year, that got so undervalued for no reason last year. How bad of a situation that really was for a rookie quarterback to go in.
Oh, my God.
Did Caleb Williams make mistakes, like, throughout the process? Yeah. I mean, texting his punter that don't worry about punting. We're going to take care of you. Yeah, that was really foolish. Like, I'll tell you that. But his ceiling is like number 6. Like, honestly, they bring in a competent coach in Ben Johnson, who's bringing in competent coordinators now with guys like Dennis Allen, who's not a head coach.
They rebuild their whole offensive line somehow.
Yes.
They get Joe Tooney, who's probably one of the best guards in the league. They get him almost for free.
And Jonah Jackson, serviceable, man.
I am a fan of this Bears team, 100%. They take Ashton Jeanty at 10. Look out. Just look out. I really think so. I am a fan of the Bears. DJ Moore last year, I think he just didn't want to play with a rookie quarterback, and he just got in his head somehow. He'll get better this year. With Caleb Williams, he'll progress. I'm not worried about this Bears team at all. Roman Dunze is going to be a monster for them.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen can stay out. They don't even need him anymore. I really don't think so. I think they can draft a guy. They can get similar production. I'm a fan of Caleb Williams. I think his ceiling is so high. If we're really doing a redraft of last year's QB class, you can make the argument that Caleb Williams stays at 1. He would be my number 2. But you can make the argument he stays at 1 just because the ceiling is still so high. I think he's going to be awesome. I think this is the type of guy that reinvigorates your franchise. I am a fan of Caleb Williams. I think he's going to have a monster year in Chicago. I really do. I think they're going to be a contender. They just got to get me another running back. I am not a DeAndre Swift fan at all. I'll put that out there.
There's Ben Johnson, man, so you can count on that.
I agree. I know Ben Johnson really doesn't like DeAndre Swift probably. And I think their defense last year wasn't that bad. They were not that bad last year. They were
good.
Yeah, I think they need a few more additions maybe, but I think this defense is very serviceable for sure. They almost beat teams like Green Bay last year by accident. And the reason why I am so high on Caleb Williams is because the offensive line is going to be so much better. And they got a guy like Ben Johnson who is a trench machine. His teams are always so good in the trenches. Detroit last year, they were the best trench team in the league. So I think with a guy like Ben Johnson there, the trenches are going to get better, and Caleb Williams won't be losing games to the Patriots because he has 2 seconds to throw the ball and there's no one open, so he's just going to take a sack. Again, a team with waiver wire guys like the Patriots went in and spanked the Bears just because they didn't have an offensive line. Gerard Mayo actually schemed up a good scheme because Caleb Williams did not have a good defensive line. I think that's going to the offensive line rather. I think the whole thing on Caleb Williams is going to change. I think the Bears have themselves a stud at the quarterback position. No debate for me. I think Williams is a star. My next one for me, I believe this is my 12, is Drake May. I'll say Drake May because I think the ceiling on him is so high. I mean, he's getting Josh Allen comps. I think last year he had a horrible situation too. Actually worse somehow than Caleb Williams. He had no offensive line. He had no run game. He had no wide receivers. He had Hunter Henry, who I think is a solid tight end, but that was it. That's all he had. The defense was terrible. The coaching is some of the worst coaching I've ever seen. If you put Alex Van Pelt, who should really be on ESPN with his brother, instead of running an offense in 2024, that was ridiculous. I mean, we called that BS out from the get-go. I think Drake May is set for a big-time season. I think they have finally competent coaching around him. I think they finally are going to get some real playmakers in there who can actually make plays. I mean, I'd like to start with Stephon Diggs. I want to see more with this team, but I am a believer in Drake May. He can make every throw in the book. The only thing that worries me with Drake May is he's just got to find a way to slide. If he slides, I am a fan of Drake May. He's just got to find a way to slide. He's got to protect himself. It became an issue twice last year with head injuries. That's the only thing that will get in the way of this kid's career. I think they finally have good coaching. I think the O-line's going to get better. They have the 4th pick. You're going to get an impact player there. The defense is going to be better. They went out and made big plays this offseason. I think Drake May is going to have a nice year for the Patriots. Maybe not, MVP type season, but I think he's going to be a very solid quarterback, and I think he's going to be in this range just because, again, ceiling is so high on a guy like Drake May with all the attributes he has and, all the ceiling on a guy like this. I'm a fan of Drake May 100%. Williams, 11. Drake May, 12.
I definitely like the ceiling play there. It's just unbelievable to me. You don't have the defending Super Bowl champion quarterback on your list yet. That's all I'll really say. As I get into the game manager / future stars tier, this feels like guys that are like, some of them are just guys that can manage a game, can wing you maybe a couple extra with their clutch moments. Number 13, I have Geno Smith. This is a guy I've probably been higher on than both of you guys. I feel like he's one of the most accurate passers in the league. He can scramble when he needs to on big downs. I think he's a good quarterback, so I still think he has some juice left in the tank. I think he's one of the premier game managers in this league, so that's why I'm at 13. 14, I have Trevor Lawrence. I think he's kind of in between a game manager and future star because I really still do believe that he could break out. With Liam Cohen going there, he has all the tools, man. We saw it his second year in Jacksonville. I just really believe in this guy to turn it around. I feel like there's been a lot of incompetence surrounding him recently, so I'm hoping with a new regime in there, he can turn it around. Number 15, I have Caleb Williams. Like you said, the ceiling's just too high, man. He flashed a lot last year. Had probably the worst offensive line, maybe like of all time. That's seriously how bad it was. A lot of the sacks were his fault, yes, but I mean, it's hard not to when you get sacked, 55 times, 60, something like that. It's absolutely obscene. So I love the potential in Caleb, and I really think he is going to be a star in this league. So he's my 15, rounding out my list.
We all have different opinions, but I really do respect each and every single one of your opinions. I definitely see it with AJ. I mean, if we're taking based on talent, Caleb, he definitely has it all. Drake May definitely has it all. It's definitely controversial because we want to talk about talent. Did you mention Jordan Love yet? I don't believe you.
No, I haven't, not yet.
So, that's definitely going to be an interesting debate right there. Jalen Hurts, obviously, you said you'll dig into him a little later, but I guess I'll go ahead and wrap up my list here. I'll start off here at number 13. I do have Caleb Williams. We talk about all about the tools. I mean, this guy, he can make any throw on the field. He can scramble as well. He's a sneaky athlete once again. I know I'm saying the word sneaky athletic a lot with these guys, but I mean, he literally is. He's very athletic as well. He can make a lot of plays with his legs. I mean, the Bears were literally designing quarterback runs. Not going to say that's competent. Shout out Thomas Brown, Shane Waldron, a couple of the worst offensive minds in all of the NFL.
Yeah,
but
I could call plays better with the man play.
I probably agree with you on that, Trevor. I will definitely agree with you on that.
I think I could.
But that's how bad of a situation you just mentioned that Caleb Williams was in last year. I mean, his receivers, DJ Moore, kind of quit on him halfway through the year. Cole Kmet's solid tight end, but he's not a top-tier tight end. Keenan Allen's old. Rome Odunze was a rookie. DeAndre Swift, in my opinion, is one of the most overrated running backs. Yeah, I mean, he's just straight up, he's not that good. I absolutely agree. Offensive line, one of the worst units in all of football right there. I mean, AJ mentioned it. Gerard Mayo won the Patriots with a bunch of no-name guys that probably played here at the rec center at ASU this past week, going in there and sacked Caleb Williams a ton of times. So the Bears, I love what the direction they're headed. Ben Johnson, he rebuilt the whole offensive line. They're going to get a better running back in there. Rome Odunze is going to take a step. DJ Moore's not going to quit on him this year. Cole Kmet's still going to be a solid safety blanket for him. Caleb Williams is going to ball this year, and he didn't turn the ball over last year a lot, which I think that was a big thing.
He had like an 8-game stretch without turnovers.
That's a big thing about Caleb. I don't think he was quite desperate last year. See a lot of these rookie quarterbacks just desperately trying to make a name for themselves, go out there trying to make a play every single time. Caleb didn't do that. I feel like he stayed true with himself. Was confidence quite as high? No, but he still took care of the football. And I don't think his goal was not him to be the reason why the Bears lost football games. And I really don't think Caleb was the reason why the Bears lost a lot of football games last year. That speaks a lot of volumes to me. I think Ben Johnson, with his coaching up and Caleb's lack of turning the ball over, I think look out for Chicago this year. I'm very excited about that. Sneaking into the number 14 for me, Bryce Young, man. I am a big Bryce Young believer, man.
It's just off the list for me.
That game in Atlanta, man, that said all I needed to see. I mean, head-to-head with Michael Penix Jr., the future of the NFC South is those two guys, but Bryce Young ended up winning that football game. Overtime, meaningless for the Panthers. The Falcons, that was a must-win for that unit to go into the playoffs. And Bryce Young said, you know what? We have going to that game 4 wins. I'm going to go in there and light it up on Raheem Morris, who is supposed to be a defensive guru for the Falcons, which is why they hired him. Lit up his defense, lit up the Falcons all game long, led them in overtime. I got the ball first. Michael Penix Jr. is not going to see the ball in overtime. Underrated moment last year of the season. Xavier Lee getting his break hands, ruining Bryce Young. Beauty of a throw down the field, and the Panthers' potential chance of going into Philly, who ended up winning the Super Bowl that year, and winning a football game in that hostile environment. Bryce Young, he's got it in him, man. Dave Canales completely revived Bryce Young.
I like the culture they're building.
Yeah, and he's just confident. You saw him play out there. He had some swagger to him. He was happy. He was dancing. He was laughing, and he was just confident, slinging that ball all over the field without any fear whatsoever. Unlike what we saw his rookie year and early in his sophomore year. I'm excited about Bryce Young. I think that year 3 stride, I think Xavier Lee cannot possibly be worse than what he was last year. He made Adam Thielen also look pretty confident as well. Really not too much of a running game down the stretch with Chuba Hubbard also going down the stretch, and he still went up and lit up that Falcons defense. So shout out Bryce.
They brought in another back, didn't they?
They did because Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL as well. But shout out Bryce Young. This is all about him. This is his Panthers team. He's playing with confidence. I think he's going to translate into that. into this next season. At 15, running it off, I have Jared Goff. I know we're not as high on his ceiling, neither am I, but I think Jared Goff has a pocket passer, and that's what he purely is. I think he just slings that football. I love his deep ball. I think he's very accurate with it. He does what you need him to do. I think if I take a guy like Jared Goff, yes, he's not going to give me as high of a ceiling as Drake May is, but he's also not going to give him as low as a floor as a guy like Drake May is, or J.J. McCarthy is, or even Michael Penix Jr., who I still think has trouble reading a defense. I think Jared Goff is a smart guy that can get in there and I think can really balance my offense very well, can throw the ball accurately. If I can teach him the system very well, I know Jared Goff is going to execute it, and I think I can win a lot of games with him.
I think you're just talking about Geno Smith, but less mobile. I just don't understand how you could put him above Geno.
Dude, Trevor, you got to be absolutely kidding me with this.
Dude, I'm seriously not, bro.
Geno Smith has not won a playoff game. Has Geno Smith ever started a playoff game? Geno Smith has never even sniffed the Super Bowl. Geno Smith is the reason why the Seattle Seahawks are not in the playoffs.
If I'm trying to win a Super Bowl next year, I'm taking Geno Smith over
Geno Smith has not done anything in the playoffs. I don't know how you can possibly say that when Jared Goff has been to the Super Bowl, 2 NFC title games. When he went to that Lions team, they also stunk. He was part of the tough Lions days as well. He's an awesome pocket passer. He's very accurate. Horrible playoff game. I'm not gonna, go ahead and defend him.
That's not why I'm discounting him. I really just think Geno would be better if he had if he had the Lions pieces around him. I think there's a world where he could have an NFC.
I completely disagree with that because Geno Smith also in lane game situations in Seattle, he was the reason why they lost because he kept throwing interception after interception in crucial situation all year long. I just don't trust Geno Smith whatsoever. I think the Seahawks had a way higher ceiling. We're talking about weapons also. We had DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jake, Tyler Lockett. Yes, the offensive line was not great whatsoever.
We're not going to act like DK Metcalf was good last year.
DK Metcalf is a very solid weapon. I think DK Metcalf's better than Jameson Williams, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not going to try to debate that one.
That's true, but he's also...
And J-Mo was wide receiver number 2 for Jared Goff as well. And Jackson Smith and Jake, he's not as good as Amon-Ra St. Brown whatsoever, but he's a very good wide receiver as well. Geno had stuff to work with in Seattle, but that offense was really never quite live up to the billing, and I think Geno Smith was a big part of it. I think a lot of Seattle fans...
OC was also a big part of it, I got to be honest.
Could say that as well, but
I
really think Geno Smith turning the ball over time after time when it matters. The Vikings game, man, it's just ridiculous. Geno Smith is a good guy, all right? He's a good guy. He can definitely bring in the next generation of quarterback. I think he's a great bridge guy, but that's all he is, I think everybody was surprised about how Geno just all of a sudden was serviceable when we pretty much did write him off and basically said Geno Smith should not be an NFL quarterback, but all of a sudden he comes in, he kind of keeps the Seahawks afloat. They're a lot better than what we thought they would be, but I just don't think Geno Smith elevates your franchise whatsoever. Not saying Jared Goff does at all either, but I just think Jared Goff is a lot more of a winner than Geno Smith is, and I think Jared Goff's proven so much more than Geno Smith has, and I just don't see the potential that you're talking about with Geno Smith whatsoever when I've watched him play. I just don't look at Geno Smith and say, wow. I just think
if we're going bare bones the player, I like Geno Smith more as a player.
I think if we're going bare bones as a player, I like Jared Goff way more, plus he wins the winning intangibles with him as well.
I can't do that when he's played with the talent he's played throughout his career.
Geno Smith's played with great talent as well, man, and he's proven to be just serviceable for the Seahawks as well. I think Jared Goff has proven to be a lot more than just serviceable for the Lions.
All right.
I think
this feels pointless. So.
I'm not touching on this. I think Jared Goff's better than Geno Smith.
Yes.
I think if you go back to even 2018, his first Super Bowl, I think the Rams team was actually falling apart, and Jared Goff actually helped them out in going to the Super Bowl. Not winning it, but going to the Super Bowl. Did he fall apart in the Super Bowl? Yeah, he's playing the best mind of all time in Bill Belichick, and it happens. But, to sit here and act like Jared Goff has done nothing in his career.
Yeah, I'm not going to – I won't say I'm acting like that. I just say I think Geno Smith's a better player.
I just don't see what you see in Geno Smith that all of a sudden you say he's better than Jared Goff. What is Geno
I think
Smith
he's more accurate. I don't
even know about that.
I think he's better.
Jared Goff throws one of the best deep balls in the whole NFL, and he's been doing that since his early days.
I think he has a lot better mobility. I don't even know if it's close.
I don't know about that.
I don't even know Geno's. But the thing is, he might have better mobility, but does that mobility literally go above and beyond what Jared Goff has? No, Geno Smith is not mobile.
I think it pushes it over. I think Geno is a mobile quarterback. I think you were watching Seahawks games if you say he's not mobile.
I was watching Seahawks games. When I was watching the turnovers leading games, the costing the games, and that's the reason why
I'm not gonna disagree. He was terrible EPA wise down the stretch, but I really do believe it. I think he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks.
Went head to head with him in Week 18 in a must-win game for Seattle, and the Rams nearly beat them. With all their backups, I just don't see with Geno Smith whatsoever.
I get that, but Charles Cross was hurt for the entirety of last year.
But if you're truly above and beyond better than Jared Goff, he should still be able to lead his game.
Man, he has 4 out of the 5 offensive line positions in front of him were just absolutely horrific. I think the situation matters a lot more than you guys are giving it credit for, and that's why I think Geno's better. I think it's close. I do.
Was Geno your 15? I'm sleeping.
He was my 13.
He was your 13. Okay, wow. All right, cool. All right. I'll do my 13 through 15. Why don't I say my honorable mentions first? My honorable mentions were Brock Purdy, who I don't really like at all. Trevor Lawrence, who I think it might be a generational bust with the way things are trending. Kyler Murray, who has no playoff wins. I mean, we want to sit here and act like Trevor Lawrence thinks. At least he's got a playoff win where he actually came back. I give that a lot of credit, actually. Kyler Murray, no playoff wins, more wins on COD than he has in the NFL playoffs. Bo Nix, rookie, who I love a lot. I think he's a really good quarterback.
Mentioned.
He's got the right coach too for him. Michael Penix, another honorable mention for me. I just think the Falcons are screwing him. I think they got to figure it out with him. And yeah, why don't I get into this? So 15 for me, I have a draw. I have Jared Goff there with Bryce Young. I think there's pros and cons for both. I just can't necessarily put them ahead of my 13 and 14 just yet. I'll go 13 first. 13 for me is Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love has all the tools. He just got to work on the turnovers. And again, people are going to beat the crap out of him for how he played in the wild card. I just don't know what people expected when he's playing one of the best rosters I've ever seen. And he's down in a big hole because there's just so much talent on one side.
He doesn't have a true number one.
He doesn't have a true number one. I get the turnovers are a problem, yes, but if you gave him a true number one, he's not turning over the football as much. And if the defense gave him a little bit of help in that game and they could actually stop guys like Saquon Barkley, maybe it would have been a different story. So he's my 13, and my 14 is the Super Bowl champion quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, none other than Mr. Number 1, Jalen Hurts. Listen, I like
That's
Jalen.
got to be worse than my Geno Smith placement. That has to be.
It's not, and here's why. I'll give you the reasoning, okay? Look, I like Jalen Hurts. I like the winning factors he brings to the table, the winning intangibles that some of these other guys really just don't have yet. Maybe he does. But here's my thing, folks. This Philadelphia Eagles team, let's call it what it is. This is the best roster I think I have ever seen, honestly. Top down, this team was absolutely stacked. Let's go through game by game, in the playoffs at least, where the Philadelphia Eagles relied on other players outside of Jalen Hurts to win games. Why don't we start really in the wild card round? Jordan Love, yes, he had the turnover issues. I think that's a lot about the defense, the front four, the secondary playing so well in that game, really limited Jordan Love. I think that was more about the Packers than it was about the Eagles, now that I really think about it. Let's go to the NFC divisional round, right? In the snow. Why was that game so close? Why? Let's go back and look at it. Saquon Barkley was running. The Rams could not stop him. It's literally, figuratively, they literally could not stop the guy. Jalen Hurts did just about nothing in that game. He really did. If you went back and you watched the film, Jalen Hurts was about as average as it could be. Yes, I want to say
blizzard.
It's fine, but Matthew Stafford played great, and Matthew Stafford showed him out for sure. Yeah. I think that's the clear thing you take away from that game is that game had just about nothing to do with Jalen Hurts.
I don't disagree with that, but you can't just discredit it.
Why don't I keep going? Because there's just so much evidence. NFC Championship game. Why don't we go there, right? Why don't we talk about the fact that Saquon Barkley ran a gigantic hole through the Washington Commanders, and they were down so quick they had to turn over the ball just to come out of that hole because Saquon absolutely killed them. Yes, did Jalen Hurts have touchdowns in that game? Yeah, it was garbage time. A lot of those touchdowns when everyone knew they were just going to blow the doors off of them because the Commanders couldn't get the little things right, like special teams, and they couldn't stop A.J. Brown, they couldn't stop Saquon Barkley early on in that game, and then Jalen Hurts when it was 14-0, he started actually using his legs, and they actually started to use him when he already had a 2-touchdown lead. That's a little interesting to me. Then why don't we go to the Super Bowl? Why don't we go and do that? The Super Bowl where Jalen Hurts had maybe the worst interception of the NFL playoffs, where there was absolutely no one there. He threw it straight to the Kansas City Chiefs, where it felt like an absolute punt. That's what it was. And in that Super Bowl, yes, did the Chiefs take away Saquon Barkley? 100%, right? They did take away Saquon Barkley. That game was all about the defense, the pass rush, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Jalen Carter getting right after Patrick Mahomes. And did Patrick Mahomes spot them 14 points in that game? Yes. Yes, he did. 100%. That pick six was garbage from Patrick Mahomes. Rolling out to his right, pulling a Brett Favre moment in the same stadium where Brett Favre did it. Through a cross-body throw right in the hands of Cooper DeJean. He runs it back for the touchdown. Or how about the interception in that game where Mahomes spotted him right in the red zone? Oh, it's convenient that Jalen Hurts throws a nice little 10-yard screen pass to A.J. Brown for a touchdown. Yeah, that's right. And why don't we talk about that deep ball? The most overrated deep ball of anyone's NFL career. Where Jalen Hurts, yeah, he did have a nice throw, but that's all about Devontae Smith, ladies and gentlemen. Going up there, making the catch for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he goes in for the touchdown. And why don't we say it like this? The Philadelphia Eagles, that, in my opinion, is the best roster of all time. If you go here and you take your list of your quarterbacks in the top 15 and the top 20, do they win that Super Bowl with that roster? I would say yes. I would say 100%. I think you could take Tom Brady out of the Fox booth, you could put him on the field for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they find a way to win that game. They absolutely do. That defense was getting after Patrick Mahomes all night long. Could anyone else really run a tush push? Like, if I put C.J. Stroud on the Eagles, can they run the tush push just about the same? Yes. C.J. Stroud would run it just about the same. They would pick up the yards because the offensive line is one of the best offensive lines I've ever seen. Saquon Barkley is the best running back in football. A.J. Brown is a top 5, top 10-ish wide receiver. Devontae Smith is top 10, top 15 wide receiver. The pass rush is one of the best pass rushers I've ever seen. The secondary might be the best in football, too, when you really think about how Cooper DeJean was in his rookie season. The linebacker core was incredible. Zach Bond wreaking havoc all postseason. I have never been more confident in this take. Yes. Do I think Jalen Hurts is a tough guy? Like, you want a tough guy at the quarterback room? Yeah. Do I like him a little better than Kyler Murray right now? Because I think one guy is absolutely tough and the other one's softer than a pillow? Yeah, 100%. But listen, let's not overrate Jalen Hurts. Let's talk about it how it is. When the Ravens won the Super Bowl in 2000, okay, I'll just use this as an example.
God,
when they won the Super Bowl, what was it about? It was about the defense. It was about everything else other than the quarterback. Yes, Jalen Hurts is probably better than what Trent Dilfer was. But in my opinion, we're not going to debate that. All I'm saying is Jalen Hurts is getting way too much credit for a postseason where really he wasn't a huge factor in it. He was probably in my, top 10-ish for Eagles factors, but I think he's right about 10. I really do. I think the run game was more important. I think the weapons on offense were more important. I think the offensive line was more important. They ragdolled the Chiefs all game long. The defensive line is probably the most important factor. The secondary was incredible. The coaching, Vic Fangio had an unbelievable game plan in that Super Bowl. That he earned that. The offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland, did a great job. He's done a great job for like the last 5 years. Isn't it convenient how the Eagles have now just rotated quarterbacks? They go from Carson Wentz.
They rotate offensive linemen, too, now. Cam Jurgens is just a top 10 center.
It's great.
That's cool.
So let's call it what it is, folks. I like Jalen Hurts. This is not a hit piece on Jalen Hurts at all. All I'm saying is, if we take any of these 15 quarterbacks and we put them on the Eagles, do they win the Super Bowl last year? The answer is 150%. Yes, they do. They would find a way to win that Super Bowl. It would be just about the same. It really wouldn't matter. And Jalen Hurts, I like the player, but let's face it what it is last year. Last year, when he didn't have Saquon Barkley, what was Jalen Hurts? A lot of people were questioning what the intangibles were with Jalen Hurts. I still have those questions today. It really hasn't changed for me. It's all about Saquon Barkley. It's all about the weapons on the offense. It's all about that pass rush, which is just freaky. This year's a big year for Jalen Hurts, okay? With all the free agent losses the Eagles have had, or the defensive line, if Jalen Hurts comes out this year and wins another Super Bowl, I will be proven wrong. But as of today, I don't think I'm wrong. I really don't. I think Jalen Hurts is a nice little player. But again, I could put any of the top 20 quarterbacks in that spot, and they're probably winning that Super Bowl hands down, knees down. Again, they're lucky. The Eagles are. They're really lucky that game was in the snow in the NFC Divisional round, or probably they would be at home because Jalen Hurts, really, if you count on him, if you really need Jalen Hurts, what happens? He does this over and over again. I'm sorry. I like Jalen Hurts. Nothing personal, man. Just when we're talking about top 15 quarterbacks, if we put them on the Eagles, they would still win the Super Bowl.
Man, you can go right ahead, Sebastian.
Well, first of all, we're going to talk about clutch performances and how you said Jalen Hurts likes to choke. Let's run the clock a little bit back here. A Super Bowl that was around 20 minutes from where we're at right now, when Jalen Hurts probably had the really good argument of being a Super Bowl MVP.
He was not the Super Bowl MVP in that game.
Very good argument, and he probably had the best Super Bowl performance ever from a losing quarterback, hands down.
Yes.
I would
touchdowns.
I would disagree.
4 total touchdowns.
He did not have the best Super Bowl ever.
With Miles Sanders as a running back,
from a losing quarterback.
No, he didn't. Tom Brady's Super Bowl 52 was much better. 505 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and the reason they lost was because they sat Malcolm Butler in a Super Bowl.
I can give you that.
It's a 35-31 game that the Eagles ended up losing that time.
So, yeah.
Jalen Hurts 4 total touchdowns in that. They were both with his arm and his legs. No running game factor whatsoever with Miles Sanders.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts has been in 2 Super Bowls. And you want to talk about how every single quarterback in your list will win a Super Bowl with that team. Mm-hmm. Drake May's not winning a Super Bowl with that team.
I think
quarterback.
Well, we're not saying hold on. We're not saying last year. The question was, our criteria was, if we're starting tomorrow with a franchise.
I still don't believe Drake May is.
I still think Drake May is. I think Drake May would do it. Yeah.
And also, we're going to talk about potential and with these guys and all. And we want to give credibility to some of these guys. I just don't see a way where you can put Drake May above a guy like Jordan Love, who I think has been able to have that same potential that you want to talk about with Drake May.
But it's just showed it.
I think Drake May has a sky-high ceiling. That's why I put
he does.
That's a fair argument. That's a fair argument. I would just say I think that today, like if we're going off tomorrow, I just think Drake May's ceiling is a little bit higher than what it is for Jordan Love.
It could be higher, but I think it's also how can you draw it out of him, and how can you draw it out of these players? And I just don't think it's automatic as you make it seem. I do know what you're saying, and it's a valid argument. I'm not going to sit here and trash it whatsoever. But I just think with all these other guys who have also shown it in the past and they still have this sky-high ceiling, I would just pick these other guys before that, especially with Jordan Love.
It's fair. All I would say is for a guy like Jalen Hurts, and we're going to talk about that Super Bowl, he also had some bad plays in that game. He really did.
One, that's it.
The fumble for the touchdown, that was his fault. That was. He didn't read a blindside. How do you not read a blindside in the Super Bowl?
But it's also, I think, more accidental than just on Jalen Hurts
It's
whatsoever.
fine.
And that's true. That's a big play in the game.
Yeah,
he'll definitely – he's probably still banging his head against the wall because of that play still to this day, because if he doesn't do that, the Eagles probably do win that Super Bowl. But we talk about a Super Bowl where his defense got lit up, had no run game whatsoever. The only reason why the Philadelphia Eagles were in that game was because of Jalen Hurts. Because of his toughness and because of his legs and because of his ability to extend plays and really himself.
This is another team. The
field.
Philadelphia Eagles, who were up multiple scores heading into halftime of that game. And what happened? The Eagles just
what happened?
Apart.
Patrick Mahomes.
That happened. I'm not going to debate that. All I'm saying is Hurts got stale there around that third quarter-ish. He had to throw a late touchdown to A.J. Brown. And then when he got the ball back, when it really mattered most, what happened? He slipped on the Hail Mary. He threw it right into the turf.
First of all,
I'm not holding that against him. You have to make that play.
First of all, no other quarterback is throwing that ball to the end zone.
I don't know about that.
He was
back
but was 37 yards.
Allen.
Maybe Josh Allen. Maybe Patrick Mahomes.
Tom Brady would throw that football.
Maybe.
Aaron Rodgers would throw that football. I think there's a lot of different people.
So I'm not really going to compare that one play of Hail
Go back to Super Bowl 52 if we're going to talk about losing quarterbacks. Brady at the end of the game threw a Hail Mary in his own 40-yard line. That's
what I'm saying. We're trying to evaluate Hail Marys on how we're going to.
No, I'm not. I'm evaluating.
Overall, I see where you're coming from with Jalen Hurts.
Why don't we talk about Hurts during that playoff run, too? Why don't we go there and talk about that? Go ahead. So the first round when they played the New York Giants in the first round.
Those two games.
That was terrible. And then the NFC title game.
No quarterback.
You're going to tell me that Brock Purdy gets hurt in the first play of the game?
My thing with Jalen Hurts, though, is, yes, his teams are always great around him. But when it comes time that you need Jalen Hurts to show up and make plays, does he make them?
He does.
He made Devontae Smith in that Super Bowl. He had 4 total touchdowns, but the Eagles had nothing going for them. The defense was playing bad. No run game with Miles Sanders whatsoever in that Super Bowl. Who did they rely on and lean on? They leaned on Jalen Hurts.
They leaned on the playmakers of the team. They leaned on guys like A.J. Brown. They leaned on guys like Devontae Smith. They leaned on guys on the defensive side to make plays.
He had 4 total touchdowns.
And that's great. He had 4 total touchdowns in the NFC.
And you also want to tell me with a tush push and that whole play, Jalen Hurts is the guy that makes that play automatic. I'm sorry.
I think C.J. Stroud could too.
No, every single dude. Come on, AJ.
One yard.
AJ, there's a reason that the other teams don't run as much as the Eagles do. It's because
they don't have that offensive line.
They don't have that offensive line. Especially the Bills. They have a bunch of.
They don't have that offensive line.
Yes, they do.
They don't have the Eagles' offensive line. I think that's crazy.
It's Cam Jurgens.
Cam Jurgens is a really good center.
He's a really good center. He's not like he's a future Hall of Famer.
He could be. How do you know? He's a rookie.
All right, let's relax.
He's a rookie. How do you know? He's a rookie. That's a little too premature.
I'll leave it like this. Why hasn't any NFL team been able to run the tush push?
They don't have that offensive line.
So you're telling me out of all 32 NFL teams, no one has a good enough offensive line to make a play?
I don't even know if the Eagles have the best offensive line.
Especially in the interior.
The Lions did. The Lions probably did. I would say the Eagles are number 2.
Then why can the Lions run that play automatically?
I don't know. It's not in their play. I don't know what to tell you. I think Ben Johnson actually
because the Eagles executed just as good as anybody else.
I think when they had Jason
Kelsey
in there,
every NFL team has 300-pounders that are able to
not as good as the Eagles. Not as good as Jeff Stoutland. Not as good as that.
Real with you, that interior of the Eagles' offensive line, they struggle at times this year.
That
was very underrated.
Especially
Pat. When it mattered most, the interior of the offensive line was awesome.
They can push, but
thank you.
Every single team has 300-pounders.
They did the same thing in the first Super Bowl.
If you put Jalen Hurts on
any NFL team, that's an automatic 5 yards for any quarterback.
With you with this. If you put Jalen Hurts behind any offensive line in football to run that tush push, he's still gonna go ahead
and again. Does any quarterback going in there in that Super Bowl win that Super Bowl?
But not run the place. That Super Bowl?
Yes.
Not Drake May, though.
I think Drake May wins the game. I think Michael Penix wins the game. I think Bo Nix wins the game. With the way the Eagles defense played in that game and the way Mahomes was just spotting them points, yeah, I actually do.
I'm not going to disagree with the Bo Nix, actually. He actually almost beat Mahomes in Arrowhead.
Well, thank you. It's exactly my point. I think again, there's a few QBs who I would say no. I mean, like, would Will Levis probably go in there and maybe win that? Probably not. No.
We're also going to use a one-game summary because his defense is so great. We're going to punish Jalen Hurts.
No, I'm using a 2 playoff summary.
I mean, once again, we go all the way back to even his college days in Alabama. The team needed him. Tua goes down, Jalen Hurts goes in, and he gets the job done. I mean, the guy
when Jalen Hurts went down, the team got better and actually won.
Every single time his number gets called, he won a Heisman even with Oklahoma.
I mean that's great. He's playing with all the talent there too.
Right into the Eagles, you transition from Carson Wentz to Jalen Hurts. The Eagles looked like they were falling apart throughout that time. They're like, oh my goodness, Carson Wentz stinks. Jalen Hurts all of a sudden comes in with a mediocre roster, leads into the playoffs to Tampa Bay.
And he gets spanked. Yeah, he gets spanked.
He's a young quarterback. I mean,
Justin
Herbert.
They won because they had talent still. The talent was good enough for them to get to the wild card. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
The Eagles with Carson Wentz, the Eagles with Nick Foles, the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. They're contenders.
That's
not really.
Different coach.
Different coach. That's it.
Different
same
receivers.
Same offensive line. Same tight end. It's really all the same. And I think what we're saying here is, and I think you guys are going to think about this when you go to sleep tonight. Is Jalen Hurts really that high? No, he's not. He is not top 6.
When his number gets called upon, he gets the job done.
That's correct. And if you put Justin Herbert in Philadelphia, I think he would get the job done too. I really do. I think if you put C.J. Stroud there, I think I'll go through my list.
I don't think anyone's arguing that.
Look, AJ, that's interchangeable. And I agree with Herbert. You can say Herbert. You can say C.J. Stroud.
If Jordan Love goes to Philly, they get the job done.
Yes.
If Caleb Williams goes there,
Caleb Williams is way too premature.
I got you. I did. I 100% did. You guys know you're wrong here. This is it's great.
AJ, you gotta be kidding me. Just because you say I got you doesn't mean
you're trying to put some.
No, you're trying to tell us to. You're trying to use a reference on one game because his team is so good and trying to trash a guy. You're just trying to trash a guy because his team is good. And so he gets called upon and he gets the job done.
You're gonna shout over me. I think I don't know what you're going for.
I'm telling you references right now. You're just simply wrong. It's ridiculous.
I'm giving you multiple playoff runs in multiple games that I have seen where Jalen Hurts just got
and you're just completely ignoring it too. When I say something, when Trevor says something, you just choose to ignore it.
If Nate Sudfeld were the quarterback in the Eagles' first Super Bowl run with Jalen Hurts, do they get there? I think the answer is yes. With the New York Giants being how bad that team was, and then Brock Purdy gets hurt on the first play of the game, Christian McCaffrey dropping back at quarterback, I think the Eagles would get to the Super Bowl either way. Would they win the game? Probably not. But no. But what's Jalen Hurts? It's a product of the Eagles.
It's a guy that when his number gets called, he gets the job done.
Howie Roseman's the best general manager of all time.
And no one's saying he isn't.
But I think it's all about Eagles.
Deserves some credit too. You can give the rest of the Eagles guys flowers.
That's credit.
That's not. He just won the Super Bowl.
So let's put Jim McMahon at 14 because he won the Super Bowl in '86 with one of the best defenses and the best running back I've ever seen.
Two Super Bowls. Two Super Bowls where he had one of the better performances we've ever seen from a quarterback in a Super Bowl.
With two smoking easy path runs together.
But he played good.
He almost lost. He did not play good.
He cannot control.
4 total touchdowns. He did not play good.
I'm talking about the divisional rounds. I'm talking about the championship games.
He cannot control who he plays.
I agree. I'm just saying he's not this upper echelon guy. I don't think so.
We're not comparing him to Lamar Jackson.
You put him at 6. You put him at 6. Yeah, you are.
He's in that same tier. He's in the same tier.
He's not in the same Jane Daniels tier. He's not.
I said
he's not in the Herbert tier. He's not in the Stafford. He's not in the Stafford tier. He's not in any of those tiers. I don't think so.
I think he has to be at this point after getting the ring, man. I think we got to start putting more.
I mean, what else do you want to see? Do you want to see the whole roster just go to hell and then Jalen Hurts all of a sudden prevail and say, "Oh, let me make this team. Let me put the Superman cape on and go win the Super Bowl"?
Yeah, I do. I want to.
You want the whole roster to get bars
because Josh Allen doesn't have a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson doesn't have a Super Bowl. So why are we putting all this on Jalen Hurts?
Lamar Jackson's a clearly better player.
And he's a clearly better player. But it just seems like just with Jalen Hurts, you're just using these inferences with Jalen Hurts just because it's Jalen Hurts. It just seems like you just doubt Jalen Hurts, and every single time you try to find a little excuse on why Jalen Hurts.
I don't doubt Jalen Hurts. I actually like Jalen Hurts. I
clearly you don't. You don't like.
I do. I'm giving him credit. I'm putting him in my top 14. I think that's a lot of credit. I just think over those guys that I mentioned before, I just think it's crazy if we're going to go into this year and say Jalen Hurts is going to just outdo him. I think
you can't say Drake, man.
Yes, I can because his ceiling is so much higher than what Jalen Hurts.
And no one's arguing that.
That's my point.
But next year, man?
Yeah, next year. I think his ceiling's so much higher for Drake May than this for Jalen Hurts. I think the real reason you have any sort of ceiling for Jalen Hurts is because of the roster. Yes. And because of the coaching. And
because he comes through when it matters. That's why I like about Jalen Hurts. That's why I rank him as high. Because as a quarterback, I think that one of the biggest factors is clutch.
He's right. If you look at 3rd and 4th down success rate, he's top 5.
In the trenches, who's the best quarterback in the league? I want Jalen Hurts. When it comes to the trenches,
no. Success rate on 3rd and 4th down has nothing to do with
If you put Jalen Hurts on the Bills on that 4th and 1, they were pushing him through with ease.
I don't know about that. I don't think so.
At the end of the day, who's making the decision on 3rd and 4th down? Who gets the ball and who's making the decision?
Well, Nick Sirianni is probably making the decision, and Kellen Moore is probably making the decision. I mean, they're calling the play.
And you know why they call that play every single time, and why Nick Sirianni's like, stay on, we're going for it? Because we have
that offensive line and we have that roster.
Who has the biggest legs in the freaking league. They can push his
Josh Allen's a better running quarterback than Jalen Hurts. If you put Josh Allen on the Eagles,
not power. Agility, maybe, but not power.
I think power, maybe.
And Josh Allen, I'm not here to agree with Josh Allen.
I mean, somebody brought up Josh Allen in this conversation in the middle. I'm saying if we
why I brought it up is because every single time you try to push down Jalen Hurts, it just seems like you're not using the same fair arguments with these other quarterbacks. You talk about playoff success even with Justin Herbert. I mean, Justin Herbert hasn't won a single playoff game. He blew a 27-point lead.
If I put him on the Eagles, though, he's winning playoff games, yeah.
I'm not going to hear to disagree with that.
That's what I'm saying.
Jalen Hurts, every single time his number gets called, he's there, he's clutch, he's got a Super Bowl, he's been to 2 Super Bowls, he won a Heisman back in college. He's just so useful in every single situation on the field.
Through, man.
I'm not here to judge with Justin Herbert. You know, it's okay if you don't put Herbert above him. He's got a lot of talent. But just putting a guy like Drake May is just disrespectful.
I don't think it is.
Drake May is not.
I just think it's premature. I don't hate the projecting take. I don't. I just think it's really premature to me personally. I've seen Jalen Hurts do it.
I believe in Steelers.
And listen, I get that, but I've seen it with Jalen Hurts. I just saw him win the Super Bowl. Like Sebastian said, one of the best losing quarterback performances I've ever seen in the Super Bowl. The guy gets it done when it really
You can't deny that, AJ. I'm sorry.
The turnover hurts him. That turnover hurt him. If he doesn't turn over the football there, they probably wind up winning that game.
They still won the Super Bowl 2 years later.
Because of the roster, the completely changed roster and how much
let me know. He's a part of that roster.
Sure.
He's a part of that roster.
So why is Lamar Jackson at 2? If you want to talk about one turnover hurting a player so much, why is Lamar Jackson at 2 compared to Joe Burrow and Josh Allen when Lamar Jackson also had pivotal turnovers that hurt him?
Because Lamar Jackson overall is are we comparing him to Jalen Hurts? Is that what you're
I'm saying? No, it's different references. I'm saying you put Lamar Jackson at 2 over Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, despite him having pivotal turnovers. In crucial times, then why is Jalen Hurts? Why are you punishing him for having one crucial turnover in the Super Bowl where he actually balled out and led his team?
I think that's an unfair comp per se, like an unfair argument. I would say Lamar Jackson because I put him at number 2 because it's everything. It's intangibles. It's the passing. He's a top 5 passer and a top 5 runner. That's just like unfair.
Jalen Hurts is a top 5 runner as a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a top 30 passer. So I mean, like so
top 20.
So a top 20 passer, so obviously he'd be lower on my list than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's unfair. That's a cheat code. Like, I mean, come on, top 5 runner and a top 5 passer.
I'm just saying,
I can make the argument he's the best runner and maybe a top 3, top 2 passer.
That's ridiculous. You're using some inferences for some players, and then you're using difference.
Because every player is judged different. Every player is judged different.
I just believe you're doing it unfairly, though.
I don't think so.
I see with Drake May, okay, but it's just right now, as we speak right here, it is irresponsible to have Drake May above Jalen Hurts. I'm just going to be straight up with you. It is irresponsible.
That's your opinion.
I think
it is irresponsible.
No,
I think it's just rose-colored glasses, man. Yeah, he had a great rookie year. Yeah, he showed a lot of potential. He's not better than the Super Bowl defending
I think his
ceiling
is higher.
Twice.
His ceiling is so much higher than Jalen Hurts.
None of us are sitting here disagreeing with that.
That's my point. I told you before the race started.
So is Zach Wilson's.
Zach Wilson's ceiling when he went to the Jets. I mean,
after his rookie year, I think we can sit here and say Zach Wilson's ceiling is super high.
It wasn't that high in my book after his rookie year. Would you watch him in his rookie year?
Drake May was okay last year. I'm not going to hear him say.
He was a really good quarterback. If you watch the throws and the tape he put on film,
he put some nice throws.
And with the worst coaching in the league, with the worst weapons in the league.
Zach Wilson also shows flashes. We got to get a guy
like Drake May.
Drake May is great, but it's irresponsible to put him above the Super Bowl MVP. Like, I mean, you got to be kidding me.
I would disagree. For one season next year, I think Drake May could just easily get there. I think if we're really thinking about it, I mean, like, if Drake May has a big year, he could blow Jalen Hurts out of the water. He could blow a lot of those guys out of the water, especially guys like Caleb Williams, too. Like, you could just be talking about something totally different, like just a difference maker, a different animal. Like, we could put him – if Caleb Williams has a really good year next year and has, like, some crazy year, we could put him in the Jaden Daniels conversation. That's what we're talking
Is he going to go win a Super Bowl MVP? Is he going to go
to
Super Bowl?
Who knows? They're rookies. How can you know?
So why are you punishing a guy who's already been there, done that, and is still doing it over and over?
Because
you're doing a bunch of ifs above guys.
Because I would say the reason why the Eagles won Super Bowls was primarily not because of him at all. I mean, it wasn't really because of him.
He was a huge reason why, though, too.
In the NFL, you guys will get this too. There are quarterbacks who are tractors, and there's guys who are trailers. Or trucks and trailers. Why do they use that? Trucks. Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, right? And we have guys like Jaden Daniels, who I think are entering the truck tier. I would say a trailer is a guy like Brock Purdy. A trailer is a guy like Jalen Hurts. I would say a trailer is a guy like Jared Goff. And I personally, I think Drake May and Caleb Williams have, if they have a really good offense around them, have the ability to be trucks. I don't think Jalen Hurts has the ability to be a truck. I really don't. I think he's going to his career is just going to be a trailer. I think that's what we're looking at with Jalen Hurts.
I think a guy that's just going to keep getting it done year after year. Has Jalen Hurts even missed the playoffs a year that he's been the starting quarterback week one? Yeah, he's not missed the playoffs one single time either.
I don't really value going to the playoffs just to get spanked by Tampa Bay. I really don't. I don't.
You value a completely horrible situation around him, and he's still doing it. And he's still wheeling his team.
Wasn't completely.
It was junk.
No, it wasn't.
That defense was junk.
AJ Brown,
aside from the offensive line, Jalen Hurts first year starting.
A team that was 10-1 to start.
Another thing with Jalen Hurts, different offensive coordinator almost every single year he's been in the NFL, and he's still adjusted the new system, and he's still able to lead the offense.
Well, the system doesn't really change that much when you have that talent around there. I mean,
when you go from Shane Steichen to Brian Johnson, yes, it does change a lot. Now you bring in Kellen Moore, you make Kellen Moore into a head coach as well. I mean, two different offensive coordinators have gone on to be head coaches, and Jalen Hurts is still be able to adjust.
I think it's about the general manager and the talent. Well, I think we're just going to have to leave it there. I just think everyone has their own opinions, and we'll just let bygones be bygones. I don't know. I think the season's coming up here is huge for Jalen Hurts, okay? I think it is. I think if the Eagles go back-to-back.
No, here's the thing. It's huge for Drake May. It's huge for Caleb Williams. Not huge for a Super Bowl MVP, all right? Those are the guys who are truly under pressure.
It's a huge season for Jalen Hurts on a ranking list like
not higher than Drake May and Caleb Williams.
I'd actually argue Patrick Mahomes has a lot more pressure on him than Jalen Hurts does next year.
Patrick Mahomes.
I
disagree. That's crazy. How can you say that?
I think the expectation is Super Bowl now.
Same with the Eagles.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the expectation put on Hurts. I think that's on the Eagles.
I think it's something.
There's no this is exactly it. It's all about the Eagles as a.
But he is the best game manager in the league.
No, he's not. Jalen Hurts is not the best game manager in the league.
Five.
I don't think he's a top 5 game manager in the league. I think that's crazy. I think that's insane to put him in a top 5 game manager in the league. I think that's crazy.
He's not a game manager because his number gets called upon and he gets the job done every single time. He's a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, he's clutch. I guess game manager is probably the wrong word. I don't know how to put it, but it seems. I mean, the way you're saying it, he comes through when you absolutely need him to.
He's top 5 trailer in the league that can do some.
Or just punishing a guy because his GM puts a great roster around him.
That's the greatest roster I've ever seen.
That's why we're punishing a guy. That's why AJ's punishing him.
I punish him because I see the numbers, I see the facts, I see the games, I see the postseason success he's had.
I see him holding a Lombardi, and I see him playing unbelievable Super Bowls.
I'm going to say the same thing about across sports. I'll say the same thing about a guy like Jason Tatum, who had an easy run to the postseason last year. Won a ring because of the team around him. That's the argument, right?
According to EPA, he was the best.
So hold up,
the best.
So are we putting Kate Cunningham above Jason Tatum now?
I know there's people here that would love to do that. I wouldn't. No.
Are we putting just young players? Like, are we putting Tyrese Maxey because I like his potential better too?
No, Tyrese Maxey does not have like a Caleb Williams potential at all.
So you're just comparing these guys who already are proven. So you're comparing these guys already proven, and all of a sudden want to put younger guys just because of potential. Like, we can go on and on about the NBA.
It's like I don't know, like Cooper Flagg versus Jason Tatum. Who would have the higher potential?
So entering next NBA season, I can take Cooper Flagg above Jason Tatum.
I'd have to think about it. Probably, yeah. I think Cooper Flagg.
It's just premature.
Cooper Flagg's potential is just sky high. Like
premature.
He's in the low tier of like LeBron James and Wembanyama.
Yeah, I see it in your face. It hurts you to say.
It doesn't. I'm a Celtics fan, of course it does. But I mean, a fact's a fact. I think Cooper Flagg's going to be legit.
Caleb Williams, I'll buy, but Drake May still has a lot more to go.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, man.
That's a good spot to leave it at for the day.
I gotta say this was the fun one, man. Feels like we haven't really gone to a lengthy debate like that. Yeah.
So, all right. You guys have a great weekend. Let's give the audience here what's coming up. Monday, we'll be back here on Spotify. We'll do March Madness reaction. Did not get to that today. We will get there. Wednesday, we will be talking about on bottom of the sixth. I'm sure a variety of topics. Probably Final Four stuff. We'll get to that. And then we'll be back here on Friday. So, you guys have a great week. Sebastian and Trevor have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
It's from Trevor Cox.
Sebastian Fryer.
I'm AJ Gonzalez saying so long from the desert. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday right here on 3 for 60.